Chapter 292. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji nodded their heads. This woman is indeed not bad, she is quite pretty, and her temperament is also quite good. On the other hand, little brother Red who was at the side seemed to be very astonished. Is that Uncle Red's wife? It's so beautiful. Dong Huangli also saw it, and she couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. However, when Yihua saw Zishan's attitude, his brows slightly wrinkled. I will spare your life, don't be unable to differentiate good from bad. If this had happened in the past, you would have been turned into ashes long ago. This Supreme Overlord's little brother's little brother will also be a person who will be able to hold his own in the future. Grasping his own opportunity is the wisest choice. The few of them got off the car, and Wei Chang and Tang Wei immediately walked over to serve them. Dong Huang Baiji opened up the car trunk, and golden light immediately shone from the trunk. A chest of gold. These were precisely sent over by Death Mage. To be more precise, they were sent over by Dong Huang Baiji. After thinking about it, he felt that it was more practical to give her gold. Uncle Green, Uncle Red. Dong Huangli ran over to the two uncles. It has been a long time since I last met these two uncles, and their hairstyles have become even more handsome. Now that the Green and Red brothers know that Ali is his honor's child, they don't dare to recklessly hug Ali anymore. But Ali stretched out her arms, wanting to hug him. Yihua looked towards the Green and Red brothers and told them that he would allow them to hug Ali. This could be considered as him acknowledging them. Uncle Red, is this auntie your wife? Dong Huangli asked while looking at Zishan. Little brother Red chuckled, that's right. Then, why are you two standing so far away from each other? Dong Huangli asked puzzledly. My daddy and mommy are always standing so close to each other, and every single time, they would kiss each other. Little brother Red said while stammering, Uncle Red is afraid of his wife, Big brother Green said with a smile. Dong Huangli nodded her head and had a look of understanding on her face. Dong Huang Baiji walked to the front of the Green and Red brothers while holding onto a chest of gold, then said tenderly, the two of you, thank you for protecting Ali all the way here. I never had the chance to thank you all the way here. Here is a small token of my appreciation, you must definitely accept it. The Green and Red brothers were startled. Big brother Green put Ali down and hurriedly said, Lady Boss, you can't do that. It is our fortune to be able to meet Ali, I told you all to accept it, so just accept it. Yihua who was sitting on the wheelchair said faintly. Since his honor had already spoken, how would the Green and Red brothers dare to say anything else? Thank you, boss. Thank you, Lady Boss. The Green and Red brothers thanked Dong Huangli sincerely. If they didn't meet Dong Huangli back then, perhaps, they would still be working in the village right now. It was precisely because they met Dong Huangli that their lives had undergone a tremendous change. In the past, they didn't even dare to think about it. Facts had proven that as long as one followed the right person, one's future would be bright. And finally, Zishan was able to see the two wives of his honor. Indeed, the two wives are exceptionally beautiful, and they are even a bit stronger than me. I didn't expect that there would be such beauties in the secular world. If those deities were to find out about this, they would definitely come down and snatch Zishan away. It is not convenient for Yihua to go upstairs, let's go out to eat today and discuss about their marriage. Qingye said tenderly. Since your wife has spoken, who would dare to say no? Of course, he agreed. For her husband to invite his underlings to a banquet, of course, he had to choose a good place. Longthan City was a second-tier city, and there were not many high-class hotels. For example, the Epine clubhouse that he used to go to was considered a relatively high-class place. Today, Qingye made a reservation at a place called Pingyuan Private Kitchen. The place wasn't considered to be luxurious, but it was said that the boss's culinary skills were superb. Of course, the price of the dishes was ridiculously expensive. For example, a plate of egg fried rice cost 99 RMB, and there was even a limited amount of it that was sold every day. And this was the cheapest place that Qingye had heard from those uncles and aunties when she was buying breakfast. When they arrived at Pingyuan Private Kitchen, there was already a long queue outside the restaurant. Fortunately, Qingye had already made a reservation through the phone, and the boss was straightforward. Every boss would be straightforward towards beautiful women. Yihua looked at this ordinary-looking restaurant. Although there was a long queue outside the restaurant, he still asked, "Is it really that good?" "It shouldn't be bad, you can be at ease." Yihua naturally trusted his wife. Everyone directly walked into Pingyuan Private Kitchen, and the people that were queuing outside immediately became unhappy. Why? Don't you have any idea what's going on in your heart? Although the outside of the restaurant doesn't look like much, the interior decoration of the restaurant is not bad, and it is very high class. The group arrived at a private room on the second floor, and there was a big table that just happened to be able to seat 9 people. Zishan casually sat down. Little brother Red pursed his lips and did not sit beside Zishan, and was prepared to sit together with his big brother. "Come over," Zishan said lightly. Although Zishan's voice was soft, everyone that was sitting at the table heard it. Little brother Red went into a slight daze, not understanding what Zishan means. Why does she want me to go over? Is she going to hit me? But I can't win against her, so should I fight back later on? What if I injure her? Big brother Green said in a low voice, "If she wants you to go over, then just go over." Little brother Red slowly walked to Zishan's side. Little brother Red's current appearance was that of a student walking to the back of a teacher, looking like he was prepared to listen to a lecture. "Sit," Zishan said faintly. Little brother Red became happy. Could it be that my wife has thought things through? Uncle Wei is still the best, to be able to convince her in just a few minutes. Seeing Zishan's attitude, Yihua was rather satisfied. Soon after, dishes were served onto the table. Just by looking at the appearance of the dishes, one could tell that they were not bad. At the very least, Yihua had the urge to stretch out his chopsticks. A chef who was wearing a white coat could be seen walking in slowly, then said to everyone with a smile, "Welcome to Pingyuan Private Kitchen, I am the chef cum boss of this place." This person's name was Pingyuan. He was white and chubby, and when he smiled, his eyes would disappear. Seeing that everyone was not speaking, Pingyuan felt a bit awkward and began introducing his dishes. After all, the price of the dishes on this table was over 100,000, and there was no need to talk about the ingredients, all of them were top-notch because they were all given by the system. There's no need for introductions, we still have things to discuss, Yihua said faintly. Ah. This was the first time that Pingyuan had encountered such a situation. This restaurant had been open for close to a week, and the customers that came to the restaurant were all curious. Especially when he was introducing the dishes, some of the customers even wanted him to introduce the ingredients used in the dishes. Looking at the few beauties, I will forget about it. There are so many dishes here, it would be a waste of my saliva to introduce them. After the boss left, Yihua began to move his chopsticks. After tasting the dishes, he felt that the dishes were indeed not bad, then nodded his head, "Everyone, let's eat." If the boss doesn't say to eat, how would the underlings dare to pick up their chopsticks? Qingye asked, "Zishan, do you have any requirements for the wedding? You can tell me about it now, I will go and arrange it when the time comes." Zishan placed down her chopsticks and said lightly, "Thank you, I don't have any requirements, I just want to keep everything simple." Qingye looked towards her man. Why does it feel like this Zishan is being forced to get married? Alright, I will arrange for the best wedding services to be prepared for your wedding, you can be at ease, Qingye said. Little brother Red hurriedly thanked, "Thank you, lady boss, for your concern." Yihua nodded his head, in the future, you will be a person with a family, pay attention to your behavior. Is His Honor talking about my hairstyle? This 50% hairstyle looks very handsome. In actuality, the behavior that Yihua said was to tell little brother Red not to be a coward and not to be afraid of her. I have already prepared a house for you two. Wei Chang's place isn't big, you two can move over there first. Yihua said. Chapter 293. Wei Chang, when the time comes, I will prepare a wedding house for you. Wei Chang and Tang Wei felt a burst of bashfulness. We haven't even done anything good, and yet we are already getting married. Boss, I'm already used to living here. If it's possible, can you help me buy it? Wei Chang smiled modestly. Some things, once you're used to it, you don't want to abandon it anymore. Yihua nodded his head, sure, let your lady boss buy it for you. Wei Chang, Qinya rolled her eyes at Yihua, then said to Wei Chang with a smile, Wei Chang, you can stay here peacefully, I will help you buy a house. His Honor's wife is still the most reliable. His Honor really likes to swindle people. The dishes here are indeed not bad, I will come here more often in the future. Yihua said faintly. I decided that in the future, when I go out to eat, I will come to this restaurant. It is truly not bad. Qinya rolled her eyes at the man. Other people aren't even willing to receive you. Little brother Red could be seen taking care of Zishan with all of his heart and soul. Little brother Red was taking care of Zishan with all of his heart and soul. However, Zishan also felt that this dish was pretty good. I didn't expect that there would be such food in the secular world. After dinner, Yihua's family of 4 naturally went back home, and the others also went back home. The Green and Red brothers were planning to move house tomorrow, therefore, they were going to stay at Wei Chang's house for one last night. However, Tang Wei seemed to be very happy. I can finally be alone with Uncle Wei again. I must definitely cure Uncle Wei's illness and then live happily ever after. Thinking about it, I still feel a little shy. In the car, Donghuang Li's stomach had become big from eating so much that she was currently lying on her father's bosom and sleeping. Yihua, why do I feel that Zishan isn't in a good mood? Qinya asked curiously. Her woman's intuition was telling her that Zishan wasn't in a good mood. Donghuang Baiji nodded her head as well, and, it seems like there's something very heavy on her mind. Yihua lightly caressed onto his daughter's hair and said faintly, a woman who is about to get married will definitely be a bit nervous. The 2 girls stopped asking because they thought of the same question. Marriage? When is Yihua planning to hold his wedding? The group of people returned home, and Qingye took care of Yihua. Yihua knew that he was about to fully recover, and everything had been laid out properly. Now, all that was left was for him to fully recover. At that time, little Baiji, you can't run away. At this moment, in a certain deep forest, clouds gradually gathered in the sky. Suddenly, lightning flashed, thunder roared, and strong winds blew. Boom, boom, boom. A thick tree was directly split by the lightning, and at this moment, 9 lightning bolts suddenly appeared in the sky, intertwining together. It emitted a dazzling white light. Suddenly, a white light flashed, and the world returned to normal. However, a figure appeared in the void. The man slowly opened his eyes. His black and white eyes seemed to be able to see through everything in the world. He was tall and handsome, with sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes. He wore a gorgeous robe and had an evil smile on his face. He muttered, "This demon emperor is finally back. Qinya, I won't let you die in vain in this lifetime, Long Outyin. You are not worthy of Qinya at all, you are a bastard. As for those debts that need to be settled, this demon emperor will come looking for you one by one." With that, the man disappeared into thin air as if he had never been there. In Wei Chang's rented house, tonight, Big Brother Green was sleeping on the sofa, while his little brother was in the bridal room, but who knows if he was sleeping on the floor or not. Big Brother Green was right, Little Brother Red was indeed sleeping on the floor, and furthermore, he was sleeping on the floor of his own accord. Zishan did not refuse and lied on the bed. Now that his magic power was sealed, even if he wanted to do something to him, he would not be able to resist. But, if he really did that, I would have to run 10 steps away from him. But, 2 months later, if I don't get pregnant, it would be hard for me to escape death. Yihua predicted that Little Brother Red would be in a disadvantageous position, so he used time to restrain them. His little brother wouldn't be anxious, the one who would be anxious would be Zishan. In the end, Zishan would be the one who pushed his little brother down. Of course, this was just Yihua's own deduction. However, looking at the current situation, Little Brother Red didn't dare to touch Zishan. In Little Brother Red's eyes, a wife like Zishan should be properly protected and cherished. Are you hungry? Little Brother Red, who was lying on the bed, asked with concern. Zishan, who was lying on the bed, slightly opened her beautiful eyes and said faintly, "I'm not hungry." "Then, are you thirsty? I will go and pour a cup of water for you." Little Brother Red asked again. Zishan wrinkled her brows. "I'm not thirsty." Little Brother Red was a bit depressed. Is she rejecting me in a disguised way? Are you cold? I will turn up the air conditioner. Little Brother Red was just trying to find a topic to chat about. However, a topic like this was truly very awkward. Which girl would like a topic like this, let alone Zishan, who was a deity? Zishan said gravely, "Red, I will never fall in love with you. All of this was arranged by His Honor, and I am only passively accepting it. I have already thought it through. I will properly spend these 2 months with you." After hearing what Yihua said, Little Brother Red became very absent-minded. In the end, Little Brother Red hugged onto the blanket tightly and mumbled, "I understand. Thinking about it, it makes sense. She is a high and mighty deity, how could she possibly like someone like me? Even if His Honor was suppressing her, she still wouldn't like me. Let's not think about those unrealistic things and go to sleep." Zishan's back was leaning against Little Brother Red, and she had already made a decision in her heart. She was going to live happily for these last 2 months, and then leave happily. It was a silent night. The next day, waves and waves of exclamations erupted throughout the entire South. First of all, Voidless Realm's Empress brought along a heroine and defeated a powerful enemy, saving the South's crisis. This piece of news instantly exploded in the South Cultivation World's forum, and all kinds of people were praising the Empress and that mysterious heroine, causing everyone to exclaim in admiration endlessly. Other than praising the Empress, the South Cultivation World's forum also began to condemn G family's actions. Look at how reasonable the North's big shots are. Meanwhile, on the North Cultivation World's forum, there were also different opinions. Some people felt that the Empress shouldn't have gotten involved, and should have just let the South be exterminated. Meanwhile, some people were praising the Empress's actions, and some people even said that the Empress should unify the North and South Cultivation World and become the real Empress. This kind of suggestion actually had a lot of people praising it, and immediately, the North Cultivation World's forum burst into an uproar. However, this was just the first wave. The second wave was a mysterious person who posted a video. When the North and South Cultivation World's people saw the video, their expressions froze, and only after a long time did they manage to react. Even if the North and South were enemies, when they saw the video, they still felt pity for the North. This is too tragic. This G family is too vicious. Meanwhile, when the South Cultivation World's people saw the video, they felt a bit dizzy. These are all family heads, and for all of them to die in G family's hands, that means that the South is finished. The South's strength will most likely regress by several tens of years. Furthermore, these family heads suddenly died, and with that, there will definitely be another round of fighting within the family, resulting in another round of casualties. Chapter 294. In the bedroom on the second floor of the bar. Yihua was currently happily hugging onto his wife and sleeping, and his evil hands had already reached into Qingya's pajamas. Meanwhile, the face of Qingya who was sleeping was completely red. However, the curve on the corner of Qingya's mouth showed that she was happy. Yihua, Qingya, this is bad. Donghuang Baiji suddenly pushed open the door and entered the room. Yihua and Qingya slowly opened their eyes. Yihua said gravely, Baiji, as an empress, look at how you are acting. No matter how big the matter is, I will be there to help you. Ji family killed all the family heads in the south. Donghuang Baiji shouted out in shock. She was truly unable to remain calm in such a situation. She was simply a lunatic. Qingya immediately sat up, and her soft and beautiful curves could cause people to be mesmerized. How is this possible? Qingya also didn't believe that such a thing would happen. Yihua was very displeased. Looking at the situation, they want to interfere again. If that's the case, I'm going to hug air tonight. After the two women finished watching the video, they were shocked. Ji family is the cruel one. Qingya asked gravely, what is the current situation? Donghuang Baiji's brows became tightly wrinkled as she said, the remaining powers in the south are currently gathering together, and it seems like Ying family doesn't have any plans to step forward. However, since Ji family did such a heinous thing, Voidless Realm cannot just watch with folded arms. Yihua asked faintly, may I ask, are the two heroines planning to leave the disabled and their daughter at home and not care about them again? The two women turned their heads around and looked towards Yihua with a guilty look on their faces. Donghuang Baiji begged, Yihua, I have to go and deal with this matter. At most, it will only take a few days. And Baiji definitely won't be able to handle everything by herself, I'll go and help her. Qingya was also someone who cared about the common people, and this was completely the effect of her bloodline. If Yihua were to find out about this, he would definitely regret the fact that he directed the movie, causing Qingya's bloodline to awaken, causing her to fall in love with being a hero. Seeing that his two wives were going to go out and be heroes again, Yihua was very displeased and said coldly, go ahead, if I were to die at home, you two wouldn't even know. Left with no choice, the two wives could only act like a spoiled child. Sob, 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 the two women took one side each. Yihua, wait for us to come back, we promise that we will accompany you properly. You can do whatever you want. Donghuang Baiji said tenderly. Qingya nodded her head. Yihua was moved, and he asked gravely, really? The two women hurriedly nodded. Hurry up and return then. Yihua said. As soon as he finished speaking, the two women disappeared. These two women. Only by locking them up will they be able to face themselves every day. After lying on the bed and thinking for a while, Yihua felt that it was time for Ying family to make a move. Although this Ji family has been exterminated, no one else knows about it. Right now, the general trend of events is unavoidable, and even Donghuang Baiji has made a move. As the southern part of Ying family, it doesn't seem appropriate for Ying family to not make a move. Yihua immediately contacted Wei Chang and asked Sun Fang to notify Ying family to participate in this encirclement and annihilation operation. The moment the Ying family received the news, they immediately started to organize. The entire south and even the northern powers started to head towards the Ji family. To do such a heinous thing, it would incur the wrath of both men and gods. He didn't know that Ji clan had already been exterminated. Of course, it would still take a few days for them to organize such a large-scale operation, and Yihua reckoned that he would have to be lonely and unable to sleep for a few days. However, this was good as well. Yihua would be able to cultivate the father-daughter relationship with Li, and he would be able to casually swindle Qin Yutong and Yizizi. On this day, the Green and Red brothers moved to a new house. When they saw the villa in front of them, they felt like they were dreaming. The two brothers suddenly gave each other a hug, and their dreams were finally realized. Zishan followed behind the two brothers, and when she saw the two brothers in front of her, they became so excited just because of a house. Sigh. To a deity like Zishan, a villa like this was really not pleasing to her eyes. However, to the green and red brothers, a villa like this was their dream. To be able to have a place of their own in a big city. Zishan, are you tired? Quickly go into the house and rest. Little brother Red said with concern. Although he knew that it was impossible for Zishan to stay in the house, he still felt that he had to properly take care of Zishan. Zishan shook her head, I'm not tired. Big brother Green held on to his little brother and said in a low voice, let me tell you, don't ever show your enthusiasm, you need to know how to play hard to get. Big brother, that time when you played hard to get, that girl didn't seem to have contacted you again. Little brother Red felt that his big brother wasn't as smart as him when it came to relationships. Big brother Green felt very awkward as he explained, that time was a mistake, it was mainly because I, as a big brother, didn't lay the groundwork properly, and my feelings weren't on point. Big brother, you can be at ease. In actuality, I also know that there won't be any results between me and her. Big brother Green's brows wrinkled, what? You are backing out just because of this. Little brother Red nodded his head disappointedly, then said with a smile, Big brother, you don't have to worry about me. But, 2 months later, His Honor said that he wants you to do it yourself. Big brother Green said solemnly. This isn't a joke. Little brother Red remained silent. Big brother Green let out a heavy sigh. I really don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. The decoration of the villa was high-end and classy. After all, Chinya had planned to live in the villa by herself in the past, so she definitely wouldn't treat me shabbily. The master bedroom was naturally for little brother, and big brother Green was staying in the second bedroom. Meanwhile, the second bedroom was originally reserved for Yihua by Chinya, but right now, there was no longer a need for it. Zishan followed closely behind little brother Red. Wherever little brother Red went, Zishan would follow. After all, the distance between the two of them could only be maintained at 10 meters. Yihua was quite attentive, giving the two of them an opportunity to chat. In actuality, there wasn't much to do in the villa. The Green and Red brothers didn't have anything to put on the villa, and Zishan didn't bring anything over either. However, they still had to change their clothes, right? Fortunately, the two brothers had exchanged for a gold brick, and right now, they were a bit richer. However, the rest of the gold bricks were given to Wei Chang as a show of filial piety. This made Wei Chang happy. Zishan, how about going to the streets to buy a few sets of clothes? You still have to change your clothes. Right now, little brother Red wasn't that shy anymore. This Zishan is also a pitiful person, there is no need for me to make things difficult for her. Zishan also knew that she didn't have any clothes, and right now, she had to rely on little brother Red for everything. Alright. Big brother Green turned on the television, then said with a smile, you two can go out on a date then, I am not fit to play with the two of you anymore. Little brother Red's face became slightly red as he argued, Big brother, I am accompanying Zishan to buy a change of clothes. Go buy clothes, don't forget to buy underwear. Fortunately, Big brother reminded me, if not, I would have really forgotten to buy underwear. Zishan's brows became wrinkled. Underwear is definitely something that is close to one's body. This green head is actually so frivolous, fortunately, I didn't choose him. After calling a taxi, the two headed towards the city. When the taxi driver saw the two of them getting on the taxi, he was very puzzled. After all, the woman was too beautiful, and the man seemed to be restless, as if he was doing something bad. Chapter 295. The majestic breeze outside the window lightly caressed Zishan's face. The current Zishan had lost the noble and dignified look that she had in the past, and she looked a bit weak. This was also the reason why old Siqing misunderstood Zishan. Little brother Red didn't say anything, and from time to time, he would sneak a peek at Zishan. Why would Zishan go and offend his honor? How good would it be if she didn't offend his honor? At the same time, she wouldn't have to die, and she wouldn't have to be shoved to me to suffer. Miss, the old driver asked again. Zishan frowned and said coldly, "Shut up." Could it be that this woman kidnapped this man? So fierce, forget it, forget it. Little brother Red asked with concern, Zishan, are you all right? Zishan did not say anything. She propped up her chin and looked outside the window. Little brother Red didn't continue asking. After arriving at the street, the two of them got off the car. Little brother Red and Zishan immediately became the center of attention. In actuality, little brother Red's dressing was rather trendy, and the main thing was that his hairstyle had become a half-parted hairstyle. The one who attracted the most attention was Zishan. She was truly a beautiful big sister. Some guys couldn't help but want to flirt with her. A handsome young man could be seen running over with a warm smile on his face. He was holding something in his hand and asked Zishan, "Big sister, I have something for you. Do you want it?" Zishan raised her head and looked at Zishan, then said slowly, "Get lost." The handsome guy was dumbfounded. You even dared to tease a deity. Are you truly tired of living? If not for Zishan having her powers sealed, this handsome guy would have already died. The young man ran away awkwardly. Little brother Red laughed. In actuality, this was his first time accompanying a girl to go shopping, and he didn't know what they were going to do. On the other hand, Zishan followed behind little brother Red and acted as if she would do whatever little brother Red said. Zishan, how about we go and take a look at this shop? Little brother Red asked. Zishan lightly nodded her head. In actuality, in Zishan's heart, she didn't have a good impression of everyone. Although she didn't have a good impression of this little brother of hers, at the very least, he was a bit better than Wei Chang and Big Brother Green. You go ahead and choose, don't follow me. Little brother Red said. Zishan said faintly, just help me choose. He was about to die, so he wasn't in the mood to choose clothes to wear. Handsome, your girlfriend is so beautiful. A waitress came up and greeted him enthusiastically. Little brother Red laughed dryly, then said, help her get a few sets of clothes. No problem. Just hug me. You have a good figure. You look good in anything. The saleswoman also praised her ceaselessly. Of course, she was also envious. Afterward, little brother Red sat on the sofa and waited, while Zishan walked into the changing room to try on the dress. When Zishan walked out of the changing room, little brother Red couldn't help but be dumbfounded. All of the waiters in the store were stunned by Zishan's beauty. Right now, Zishan was wearing ladies' cropped trousers, and paired with a capable lady's shirt. Zishan had tied her hair into a ponytail, and in an instant, she had turned into a city beauty, just that, she was a cold and aloof type. Change to another set. Little brother Red said. Zishan knitted her eyebrows, then walked back into the changing room. This time he wore casual clothes, tight jeans, and a t-shirt. Little brother Hong's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. So, Zishan's figure is actually this good, her legs are so long, her chest is also so good, cough, cough, cough. Little brother Red turned his head away, seemingly embarrassed to continue watching. Zishan sighed, then went back into the room to change. 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 After changing at least 20+ sets of clothes, Zishan finally couldn't bear it anymore and asked, how long are you going to keep changing? Little brother Red's expression sunk, you didn't say that you are satisfied with them either. The waiters covered their mouths and laughed lightly. Wrap up all of the clothes that I tried on just now. Little Brother Red felt that all of the clothes looked good, and thus, he bought all of them. The waiters cried out in surprise. This fellow's family definitely has a mine. After counting the money, due to the large amount of clothes, it would be even better if the store could give all of the clothes to me. Little Brother Red walked out of the door. Right now, Zishan was wearing a small skirt, and she looked very beautiful. That spotlessly white jade neck of hers made one have the urge to lick it. Zishan, do you still want to buy anything else? Little Brother Red asked. Zishan said, do as you see fit. Then. I'll go and buy a few sets of underwear for you then. Zishan's expression sunk. I didn't expect that this Little Brother Red would be so frivolous. After bringing Zishan to the underwear store, Little Brother Red waited outside. Little Brother Red didn't dare to enter the colorful pink world. Roughly 20 minutes later, Zishan came out with a shopping bag. Young miss, you still haven't paid. The lady boss chased after Zishan and shouted out. Little Brother Red hurriedly paid Zishan, then said, do you want to go and eat something? Anything. After arriving at the restaurant, Little Brother Red asked again, what kind of dishes do you want to eat? Anything. However, for all of Little Brother Red's questions, Zishan's answer was anything. Suddenly, Little Brother Red asked, Zishan, do you want to eat shit? Anything. Little Brother Red, Zishan came back to her senses and stared at Little Brother Red with a cold expression, seemingly like she was asking, do you want to die? In actuality, Little Brother Red really wanted to laugh, but he endured it. Don't be angry, I was just trying to make you happy. After a while, Little Brother Red said embarrassedly. Zishan said coldly, you sure are happy. Little Brother Red knew that Zishan was angry, and thus, he continued eating silently. If there's a next time, I'll directly run away. Zishan said gravely. Although I'm a prisoner, if I'm forced into a corner, I'll also end my life. Little Brother Red's intention was good, but the question he asked was simply too weird. It's no wonder that Zishan has always been single, there's a reason for this. I understand. Little Brother Red could only agree. After eating, the two returned home. Right now, Zishan only wanted to peacefully spend the remaining time in her life, and she didn't want to think about anything else. Little Brother Red was still very concerned about Zishan. Taking care of Zishan is fine, I guess. Days passed by, and Yihua's group seemed to have sunk into a depressing atmosphere. Yihua slept alone for 3 days. If it was in the past, Yihua wouldn't feel anything, but right now, he wasn't used to it. He wasn't used to it at all. These two women actually didn't return home for 3 days. The keyboard has already been prepared, and the first thing I'm going to do when I return home is to make them kneel on the keyboard. On the 3rd day, Voidless Realm and Ing family joined hands to break G family's seal. Countless people immediately rushed into G family's house and demanded G family to give an explanation. Furthermore, they wanted to convict G family of their crimes and lock them up for several hundred years. However, when they rushed into G family's house, they discovered that G family's house was completely empty, there wasn't a single person in the house. They definitely ran away, I came too late. Everyone searched for the family heads' corpses according to the video, and sure enough, all of the family heads' corpses were buried in a huge pit. This also meant that the video was real, G family's people didn't die a good death. There were still a lot of family members at the scene, and when they saw the corpses of their husbands or brothers, their mournful cries resounded throughout the world. From the looks of it, Yihua had done a good deed. After all, he had taken revenge for them. Chapter 296. In the beginning, when the two families met, Voidless Realm was extremely angry, and Voidless Realm nearly started fighting with Ying family. As for Donghuang Baiji, she endured it. Now is not the time to settle old scores, there will be plenty of time in the future. Everyone was once again subdued by the Empress's bearing. However, everyone could see that the Ying family was trying to curry favor with the Empress. This was especially so for the Ying family's patriarch, Ying Jingshan. Those who didn't know better would think that he was the Empress's servant. At this moment, the three of them were standing in the ruins of the Ji clan's main hall, looking around with a serious expression. Qinya's tone was filled with doubt. From the looks of it, Ji family doesn't seem to have left. Donghuang Baiji tightly wrinkled her brows, then nodded her head, it seems like someone has been here. Ying Jingshan didn't know of Yihua's plan. The mission that he received was to come over and cooperate with the Empress, and he didn't know that Yihua had been here before. He squatted down and touched the black dust on the ground. These could be considered as bone ashes. Why were they black in color? That was because the godly might that Zishan released had burned them to such a state. It was as if an atomic bomb had exploded, turning them into charcoal in an instant. Ying Jingshan touched it and licked it. It tasted like caramel. It seemed like this elder had diabetes. Qinya took a look at the black marks on the ground. They were arranged in a very orderly manner, then said faintly, I have a bold idea. Donghuang Baiji responded. Ji family should have been exterminated. Qinya said gravely. Ying Jingshan stood up and said gravely, indeed, these black figures should be Ji family's people. Furthermore, looking at the sequence of events, they should have been in the middle of some kind of meeting at that time and were instantly killed by someone. Donghuang Baiji said gravely, but who is capable of instantly exterminating Ji family? No matter what, he is still one of the three giants. Qinya pulled onto Donghuang Baiji's sleeve and said in a low voice, Baiji, do you think that it might be? You are talking about that group of people? Donghuang Baiji understood what Qinya meant. Right now, only that group of people is the biggest suspect. Your Majesty, the two of you are still stepping on two corpses. Ying Jingshan smiled faintly, and his expression was very respectful. With the two madams present, how could he not be respectful? Qinya and Donghuang Baiji slightly shifted their footsteps. Why are these two shadows here? Ying Jingshan asked in confusion. Donghuang Baiji said gravely, I'm afraid that this is Ji family's family head, Ji Zizhen. As for the other one, it might be either Ji Ji or Ji Ting. The three of them frowned. This wasn't a good thing. The Ji family was such a huge family, but it had been annihilated in an instant. If not for the fact that the house was broken, he would have thought that the entire Ji clan had escaped. You guys, look over here. Qinya cried out in surprise and pointed at the place where Yihua was originally sitting. Donghuang Baiji took a look at her surroundings. According to the arrangement of the seats, there should be people sitting around here as well. However, this place was completely clean, and there was no black figure at all. Ying Jingshan walked to the surroundings and looked around. Suddenly, he shouted, I found something here. The two women walked over and saw a thin layer of black shadow. This was Ji Ji, who had turned into human skin. The chair is there. Qinya cried out in surprise. When Yihua left, he didn't wipe his butt clean. To be more precise, his subordinates didn't arrange the crime scene properly. Ying Jingshan moved the chair to this clean place, then sat on it and asked, there might have been someone sitting here. No one dared to move, only Ji Zizhen, Ji Ji, and Ji Ting dared to resist, and in the end, they all died. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji nodded their heads. Ying Jingshan's deduction is indeed correct, but we don't have any direct evidence to prove it. Don't move. Qinya suddenly shouted out. Ying Jingshan immediately stiffened. What is your wife trying to do? Qinya could be seen squatting down, then using her slender hand, she took out something from the crevice of the limestone. Donghuang Baiji took a look. The two women asked confusedly, "This is cigarette ash." Yi Hua was not far from dying. Jingshan said gravely, "It seems like this person is a smoker." After finished speaking, "I feel that something is amiss. It seems like every time I see His Honor smoking, and to instantly annihilate Ji family, other than His Honor, how many people would be able to do that?" Jingshan's expression suddenly changed. "His Honor didn't ask me to come here to cooperate with him, he asked me to come here to wipe his butt. I must not let the two madams find out about this. However, I have also provided countless clues to His Honor. I'm done for." Jingshan, did you recall something?" Donghuang Baiji asked gravely. Jingshan's expression didn't look good, seemingly as if he had discovered something. "Nope, I smoke when I have nothing to do." Jingshan could be considered to be an experienced actor, and he reacted very quickly. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji took a look at each other, and the first person that popped up in their mind was actually Yi Hua. It must be said that a woman's senses are too scary, especially for two such powerful women. Their intuition is even sharper. Could it be that the two of you didn't sense a trace of godly might? Jingshan said gravely. That serious look on his face made it seem as if he was saying a fact. In actuality, Jingshan was just trying to change the topic, but Jingshan's guess was right, a deity had indeed been here. Qingye asked in a low voice, "What does a deity smell like?" It's the smell that's coming from your body." Donghuang Baiji said sneakily. "The smell that's coming from my body." Qingye wrinkled her brows and took a sniff. "My body is rather fragrant." Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly. "Qingye, it's the godly might that's coming from your bloodline, that smell." Right now, only Qingye was able to try to sense the godly might, because only her bloodline could be considered to be pure. Jingshan was a bit flustered. "I didn't manage to comprehend His Honor's meaning. If something were to happen to me, the entire family would be done for, just like Ji family." "Baiji, there is indeed the smell of a deity." Qingye opened her beautiful eyes and said gravely. Jingshan was endlessly astonished, and Donghuang Baiji was the same as well. Did a deity finally come? If that's the case, everything will be fine. Donghuang Baiji said faintly, the deity discovered that Ji family was massacring the Ying family, and thus, the deity came over to mete out punishment. This seat might be the seat that the deity is sitting on. The two did not refute Donghuang Baiji's words. It's been 1,000 years. The deity has appeared again. Jingshan tightly wrinkled his brows. The appearance of a deity is not a good thing. Donghuang Baiji said confusedly, "Why didn't the deity appear back then when our two families were at war?" Perhaps that was a normal challenge, and Ji family had incurred the wrath of the deity. Jingshan explained. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji silently nodded their heads. Thinking back to the video, it is possible that the deity appeared and exterminated Ji family. Qingye asked curiously, after exterminating Ji family, the deity left. Donghuang Baiji and Jingshan shook their heads, expressing that they didn't know. All of the people in the lobby have turned into black shadows, but where are the corpses of the other people? Qingye asked confusedly. At the very least, there are over 10,000 people in Ji family. Suddenly, sounds of discussions could be heard from outside the lobby. Chapter 297. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji also flew into the sky, and Jingshan followed behind them. Overlooking the entire Ji family from above, it was a completely different visual effect. The entire Ji family's building was full of holes, and there were caves everywhere. On the roof, walls, even the ground. It was so dense that it made one's whole body numb, like a pockmarked face. Qingye seemed to be not used to this kind of scene. After landing on the ground, Qingye stopped looking at the scene and began retching. Upon seeing that, Donghuang Baiji immediately came over and held on to Qingye. What happened? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? It's a little disgusting. Donghuang Baiji comforted Qingye, causing Qingye to feel much better. I feel that this matter isn't that simple, Qingye said faintly. Donghuang Baiji also had the same feeling. I even have a feeling that this deity has been exterminated. Yeah, I keep feeling that we are surrounded by a conspiracy, Qingye muttered. Donghuang Baiji did not refute this point, because she also had the same feeling. The news that the Ji family in the south had been exterminated by the deities soon spread across the entire cultivation world. The god who had disappeared for 1,000 years had actually appeared again, and as soon as he arrived, he destroyed the Ji family. It felt so good. This Ji clan deserved to die. It was good that the deities were destroyed, it was so satisfying. Yihua was praised by a hateful human, and it was unknown what kind of mood he was currently in. Right now, Yihua was currently listening to Wei Chang's report, and the more he listened, the more unhappy he became. I, the Supreme Overlord, do not need your praise. I, the Supreme Overlord, need your fear and panic. Your Honor, what about absolute heaven? Wei Chang asked puzzledly. If he wants to go to the north to gather information, then let him be. On the other hand, Yihua didn't mind. He was rather at ease with his subordinates. However, absolute heaven went to Purple Gold City. That place is very deep, it would be easy for him to expose his identity. Yihua laughed lightly. All right, Zhu Tian will be able to handle it. Also, his identity this time around is a bit interesting, Zijin University's Hypnosis Department professor. That's good, then. This is absolute heaven's specialty, Wei Chang felt relieved. Yihua asked, what happened to that Little Red and Zishan? According to Little Green's report, the two of them were very respectful and nothing happened. Ask them to take the wedding photos tomorrow, and then prepare for the wedding in a few days. Zizi is about to go to school, so get everything done before that. Yihua felt that Zizi would definitely cause trouble, and at that time, he would definitely have to take care of her. This was also the worry of a big boss. Luckily, the others were rather quiet, and Yihua was the only one who was worried about Zizi. Understood. Find a time to add some fuel to the fire, just like how I did to Sun Fang last time. Sometimes, pressure is needed. Right now, Yihua had quite a bit of experience in this aspect. If Leisure Bar were to close down, I might be able to open up a matchmaking agency. Even if the matchmaking agency is from a different race, humans and snakes are not just a dream. Yes. Your Honor, there is one more thing I want to report. Almost all of the southern family heads have already knelt down, and all of their family members are currently fighting for the position of family head. The most important thing is that Dry Zen Sect and Traceless Pavilion are missing. Right now, only Cloud's sect has sent out all of their disciples to seal demons in the secular world. There are also some loose cultivators that have joined in, but the number of people that have joined in is still not enough. Those demons and devils seem to know about this, and they have been appearing frequently these few days. Your Honor, what do you think of us? Yihua took out a stick of cigarette, looked at the city in front of him, and said faintly, I don't care about other things, but this long and city is the place that I, the Overlord, am going to spend my vacation. Yes. Subordinate understands. Recently, Long and City was not very peaceful. Cloud's sect was originally located at the border of Long and City, but because a lot of their disciples were sent out to seal demons, the place in Long and City became vacant. Wei Chang planned to cancel Death Mage and Sun Fang's honeymoon. The Green and Red brothers were definitely going to make a move as well. After all, Long and City was so big. After cutting off the connection with Wei Chang, Yihua slowly stood up and raised his walking stick. Right now, he was acting as a disabled person who was in his recovery period. Daddy, quickly come and look at the news. Dong Huangli could be seen being dressed up by Qin Yutong. Dong Huangli was already so beautiful when she was young, just how beautiful would she be when she grows up? As expected of the descendant of someone with super strong genes. Yihua asked faintly, "What's wrong?" "Daddy, quickly come and look at the news, you will know after you look at it." Dong Huangli pulled her father into her office, and right now, the news of Long and City was currently being broadcasted on the television. According to the news of this station, a large number of dead fishes appeared on the surface of Huajiang today, and the scene was very shocking. The following is the scene of the scene. Yihua looked at the Huajiang that was being broadcasted on the television. In actuality, Huajiang was just a few streets away from Huajiang, and Qingye had gone out for a walk at night before. "Daddy, the fishes are so pitiful." Dong Huangli pulled onto the corner of her father's clothes and looked at her father pitifully. Yihua rubbed onto his daughter's head and said faintly, "Ali, all living things will die one day. Some will die a worthy death, while some will be slaughtered by others." "Then, were all of the fishes slaughtered by others?" Dong Huangli couldn't help but ask. Yihua nodded his head. All of the fishes' souls were sucked dry. Don't look at how little the fishes' souls are. With such a large amount of fishes' souls, there were still quite a lot of souls. Dong Huangli could be seen snorting. "Ali wants to go and beat up bad guys." Yihua immediately held onto his forehead. "Why do all of my women like to go and beat up bad guys? Can't I go and beat up good guys? Ali is still young right now, she can't go and beat up bad guys." Yihua guided attentively. Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth and said indignantly, "But Ali is just angry, these fishes don't even have any aggressive nature, why are there people bullying them?" "Ali, don't be angry, Daddy will go and teach the bad guys a lesson, alright?" Yihua didn't have any other choice. "I can't let my daughter go and become a hero too. If that happens, from now on, I will be the only one left in the house, and the 3 women will have to go and become heroes outside." Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth and said, "All right then, Ali will hide her strength first. When Daddy is no longer able to handle the situation, Ali will then go and fight. This little fellow is still hiding her strength." Yihua pinched onto his daughter's cheeks. "I'll just leave this matter to Wei Chang. After all, a mere demon isn't enough for me to take action." "Daddy, recently, Ali found a good cartoon," Dong Huangli said quietly. Yihua carried his daughter into his embrace and asked curiously, "What cartoon is it?" "Popeye, is it good?" Yihua asked curiously. "It's good. Ali has already watched 2 episodes of it, hurry up and show it to Daddy." And, just like what Qingye had imagined back then, her husband was watching cartoons together with their child, and the way he was watching the cartoons with great interest. However, as his wife, Qingye, and Dong Huangbaiji, were currently in charge of the wedding, and they would only be able to return in a few days. Yihua had already prepared a box of keyboards. "If you have the capabilities, then don't come back." Wei Chang arranged all of the orders that his honor gave to his subordinates. This kind of small matter would naturally be left to his subordinates to do. Right now, I still have to continue looking for strategies on how to push down little Tang. She is going to start school soon, and at that time, the chances of us meeting each other will be even lesser. At a certain parking lot in Longdon City, 2 kinds of sounds were currently coming out from a small QQ car. Bu, cool cool cool, clap clap clap. Chapter 298. They were precisely Death Mage and Sun Fang. It wasn't easy for them to not bother about Ing family, and the 2 went to the South Pole to have their honeymoon. But after a few days, they were suddenly called back. "Can you lower your voice? I can't hear you." Sun Fang shouted out coquettishly. "You keep saying bu all day long, and you don't even know how to ask his honor for a body. Death Mage turned his volume to the maximum. GGG, Imperial Translation, I like big. This infuriated Sun Fong, and she began to attack. The small QQ car began to shake violently, and it even made a squeaking sound, which was particularly pleasing to the ear in the empty underground parking lot. After a long time, the two of them got out of the car. Sun Fong said angrily, "If you don't go get a body, don't touch me in the future." GGG, Royal Translation, you're saying that I touched you. Shameless. Just from his tone, Sun Fong could tell that he was a stubborn person. Sun Fong snorted. Let's see who can endure loneliness. The Death Mage had been patient for over 1,000 years. In terms of determination, the Death Mage was undeniably the strongest. Sun Fong looked at her phone. I don't look ugly. Why aren't there any fans following me? Sun Fong was very distressed when she saw that she didn't have 2 digits of fans. GGG. Royal Translation, you want to gain more fans with that brain of yours. It would be good if it didn't drop. Sun Fong glared at him. Are you bad-mouthing me again? Death Mage turned his head around and looked to the side, as if saying that he didn't say anything earlier. I want to shoot a video. Help me do it well. If the number of fans doesn't break 2 digits, you can ask for this body. I've had enough of being a widow. Sun Fong snorted. Other people's girlfriends were all living blissful lives, but she had a boyfriend that she couldn't touch. Don't worry, there's still Tang Wei with you. Good friends play together. If Death Mage had eyes, he would definitely have a look of disdain on his face. I'm not going to look for his honor to ask for my body. He pointed his phone at Sun Fong. Sun Fong smiled sweetly, and her beautiful eyes curved into crescent moons. She shook her little fists and even played with her hair. After shooting, Sun Fong immediately took it to see the effect and was very satisfied. Is it beautiful? Sun Fong asked curiously. GGG. Royal Translation, the ugliest in history, but I like ugly people. After adding the background music, Sun Fong posted the video. Damn skeleton, you better get a body for me. Otherwise, you're finished. I won't top up your money. Death Mage spread out his hands, indicating that it doesn't matter. In any case, I am not the one who is anxious. Seeing Death Mage's attitude, Sun Fong became angry. Throwing her handbag onto Death Mage's bosom, Sun Fong walked forward angrily. Kakik. This was not the voice that Death Mage let out. A man with a ferocious face walked out from the corner. There was blood at the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that he had been possessed by a monster. A woman and a skeleton. What's the relationship between you two? The man arched his body and raised his ferocious face. Sun Fong shouted, it has nothing to do with you. According to his honor's order, I will send you to the Western Paradise. With a flash of silver light, the man's head rolled down to Death Mage's feet. This mage likes such simple and rough women. Your strength is not bad. Unfortunately, this is not my real body. You guys can take your time to find it, haha. The head laughed arrogantly, and it sounded very strange in the empty parking lot. Death Mage raised his leg. Bang! The watermelon exploded. Kakik. Imperial Translation, ignorant demon, to actually disturb his honor's vacation, you are truly reckless. Death Mage hugged onto Sun Fong's waist and prepared to drive away. Don't touch me, I said that I won't let you touch me, you can't make me go back on my words. Death Mage straightforwardly carried Sun Fong on his shoulder. What a dishonest woman. Right now, at the shore of Huajiang, 2 figures were walking on the sidewalk. One was walking in front of the other, and the distance between them was always maintained within 5 meters. They were precisely Little Red and Zishan. In actuality, this atmosphere was very similar to a date. Zishan, who was walking at the back, was looking at Huajiang. The cool breeze was blowing onto her beautiful hair, and her slender fingers were twirling her beautiful hair. Little Brother Red stopped his footsteps and looked at Zishan, who was behind him, with a peculiar gaze. Suddenly, I don't want Zishan to be my wife anymore, because with my current appearance, I am not worthy of her. Are you tired from walking? Little Brother Red asked concernedly. Zishan shook her head. How about we go back then? You don't want to catch demons anymore? Zishan asked lightly. Little Brother Red remained silent. Zishan said faintly, catching demons is also part of my duty, let's go downstream and take a look. This was the first time that Little Brother Red heard Zishan say such a long sentence, and he was very happy. The two walked towards the downstream of Huajiang. There was a patch of reeds here, and of course, there were also mosquitoes here. Little Brother Red naturally wouldn't let Zishan get bitten by the mosquitoes. Zishan didn't say anything, and the two walked towards the depths of the reeds. Shoo! Little Brother Red suddenly stopped and signaled Zishan to not make any sound, because he sensed an aura ahead of him. The mission that Uncle Wei gave me today was to get rid of the demon that was sucking the fish essence. If I'm not wrong, that person should be the person who is not far away from us. Right now, the surface of the river was completely red, and a bloody aura was gathering on the man's hands. Countless fishes were floating on the surface of the river, and the scene was very frightening. After confirming the target, Little Brother Red said to Zishan, who was behind him, in a low voice, "Don't get too far away from me." Zishan nodded her head. Right now, she was just an ordinary person, just that she had a lot of experience. Little Brother Red could be heard walking out of the reeds and shouting out loudly, "Stop!" The man slowly turned his head around and took a look at Little Brother Red, then continued sucking the fish essence, completely ignoring Little Brother Red. Little Brother Red wrinkled his brows. This person is very arrogant. Little Brother Red picked up a stone and threw it towards the man. The man grabbed onto the stone and said gravely, "If you leave now, I will spare your life. Under his honor's order, I will take your life today." In the past, Little Brother Red had always been following his big brother around, and he was the kind of person who would listen to whatever his big brother said. Wei Chong could tell that Little Brother Red was different, and thus, he separated the two of them. Little Brother Red needed to be trained, and he still needed to help his honor expand his territory in the future. The man finally looked straight at Little Brother Red, and a faint smell of blood emitted out from his body. "You are very courageous, but you shouldn't act cool in front of me." "Sorry, I don't know how to act cool." Little Brother Red was a bit nervous. After all, this was the first time he was facing an enemy, and his big brother wasn't around. The man laughed lightly, very pretentious. "How about you follow me?" "Where did you come from?" Little Brother Red asked curiously. He felt that Little Brother Red was talking about his daily life. The man said gravely, "I am from hell." "Where are you from?" Little Brother Red patted on his chest and shouted out, "I am from Dongming village." The corner of the man's mouth twitched. This person sure knows how to act cool. Little Brother Red wasn't an idiot. Just a moment ago, he was just trying to get information from the man. Hell! Why haven't I heard of this city before? Could it be that he is from another country? "Brat, I am in a good mood today, move aside, I won't kill you today." Chapter 299. Zishan, who was hiding within the reeds, heard Little Brother Red's words. I didn't expect that this little man would have such a side to him. In Zishan's eyes, Little Brother Red was that kind of man, that kind of weak man, who would get nervous whenever he saw her, just like a child who had yet to grow up. However, this man would only act like this in front of the person he likes. If he didn't like her, he would be so mature that he could even be her father. Looking at Little Brother Red, who was in front of him, the man's gaze became cold. I never kill a nameless person. What is your name? Little Brother Red's gaze gradually became firm as he said gravely, I am Yi Hong. I am Fiend King. I went to hell. Remember to report my name. If you know that I was the one who killed you, those brats won't make things difficult for you. Fiend King laughed loudly. Yi Hong swallowed his saliva, then shouted out, all right. I won't bully you. I will let you punch me first. Zishan, who was hiding within the reeds, felt helpless. You are giving way to the enemy, but why would the enemy give way to you? You are truly stupid. Fiend King seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world as he laughed loudly, laughing at my ignorance. To actually let me punch you first, how could you possibly withstand a punch from me? A punch from me is able to split open a mountain, a punch from me is able to send you flying into outer space. Brat, I have lived for a few hundred years, but I have never seen someone who can act cool like you. Fiend King stopped laughing, and his gaze became cold. Although what Little Brother Red said was laughable, it was also disrespectful to me. Zishan also felt the same way. I have lived for 1,000 years, but I have never seen someone who can act cool like you. Yi Hong said seriously, I am not acting cool, I don't even know how to act cool. Fiend King, Zishan, what Yi Hong said was the truth. Why would I know how to act cool? When I act cool, I am even more awesome than my big brother. Fiend King frowned, since you are going to let me punch you first, I will let you see. What is called a punch? Yi Hong was just being honest, he wasn't stupid, he was clear about his own strength, if not, he wouldn't have said such words. As for why he let Fiend King punch him first, it was because he didn't want to feel guilty. At least, if Fiend King punched him, he would be able to fight back. Zishan, who was hiding within the reeds, scolded Yi Hong for being stupid. I have never seen such a stupid man before. Fiend King shouted, Power of the Ghost God. A red light appeared on Fiend King's body, and the muscles on his body increased by a few notches. His veins were thick and long. Ghost energy. Fiend King shouted once again. His thick muscles gradually shrunk, but this was not a reduction in strength, but a compression of strength. The ground started to tremble slightly. The ground beneath Fiend King's feet could no longer support itself and started to collapse. A huge spiritual pressure spread out from Fiend King's body, causing the reeds to be blown away. At the same time, Zishan's beautiful figure appeared in front of Fiend King. What a beautiful woman, I'll kill this man later and snatch this woman. How could Zishan, whose cultivation had been sealed, withstand such spiritual pressure? Blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Yi Hong cursed at herself for being stupid and immediately stood in front of Zishan, withstanding all of the pressure, allowing Zishan, who was behind her, to feel a bit more comfortable. Zishan knitted her brows and looked at Yi Hong, who was in front of her. Ghostly fist. Fiend King didn't care too much, he gathered all of his spiritual power at one point, and a majestic aura immediately erupted out. A huge ghost actually appeared behind Fiend King, and the ghost seemed like it was going to devour the two people in front of it. Zishan let out a light sigh. If I die, then I die. Boom! A huge sound suddenly erupted, just like the rumbling of thunder. The fist solidly landed onto Yi Hong's chest. Immediately, dust flew all about, the ground caved in, and cracks appeared on the ground. In an instant, all of the reeds were uprooted from the ground. Fiend King let out a breath. If this fist of mine were to land, even the Emperor would have a hole punched through his body. It's my turn now, right? Yi Hong patted onto his chest and said. Fiend King's brows wrinkled. Looking at Yi Hong, who didn't move in the slightest, he mumbled, just who are you? I am just a foolish fellow that came from Dongming village. It is my honor to be recognized by your honor, and also. Yi Hong didn't continue speaking. Zishan, who was behind Yi Hong, finally knew. So that Wei Chang didn't lie, he is indeed very powerful. Impossible. You are definitely the Ghost King from hell. Are you here to capture me? I won't go back. After finished speaking, Fiend King flew towards the horizon. If I don't run now, when will I ever run? Yi Hong still didn't have much combat experience. Seeing that Fiend King was running away, Yi Hong immediately flew towards the horizon and chased after Fiend King. Ah! A painful and tender cry rang out. Yi Hong, who was flying in the sky, scolded himself for being an idiot, then immediately landed beside Zishan. Are you all right? Just now, the distance between the two of them was at least 20 meters, and this distance was already the furthest distance that Zishan could endure. Pfft! Zishan sprayed out a mouthful of blood, and her face instantly became pale, and her delicate body slowly fell onto the ground. Yi Hong hurriedly held on to Zishan. Yi Hong didn't know what to do. Zishan, what happened to you? Back then, when Zishan was testing the waters, she felt that her body was going to explode when she took a step further than 10 meters. Just now, she had gone further than 10 meters. From this, it could be seen how serious the consequences would be. Blood unceasingly flowed out from the corner of Zishan's mouth, and her delicate body gradually became ice cold. Yi Hong was already scared silly by the situation in front of her. I'll bring you to see his honor. His honor definitely has a way. Don't. Zishan pulled onto Yi Hong's wrist. Yi Hong sat on the ground, and Zishan was lying on his embrace. Blood unceasingly flowed out from the corner of Zishan's mouth. Zishan could feel that all of her internal organs had dried up, and some of them had even ruptured, and there was no hope left for Zishan. In fact, this was also good. Lying on Yi Hong's embrace, Zishan looked at the stars in the sky with her beautiful eyes. The secular world's night sky sure is beautiful. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose just now. Yi Hong wiped off the blood that flowed out from the corner of Zishan's mouth in a flurry, but no matter how he wiped, he was unable to wipe off the blood. Yi Hong kept on saying that he was sorry. Why did I act so impulsively just now? I didn't think about Zishan. The distance between me and Zishan is going to take away Zishan's life. Yi Hong, this isn't your fault, you have freed me. Zishan seemed to have regained her last radiance, her gaze became much clearer, and the corner of her mouth seemed to have an arc of freedom. Tears of regret flowed out from the corner of Yi Hong's eyes, and his lips slightly trembled. I hate myself, why am I so stupid? Zishan could be heard mumbling, death didn't have anything to do with me in the past, and now that I think about the things that happened in the past, death doesn't seem to be that important anymore. Vanity, power, wealth, these were all things that I pursued in the past, but now, hee. After finished speaking, an aura of death enveloped Zishan's body. Yi Hong didn't want Zishan to die, but right now, he didn't have any way to save Zishan. Zishan slowly stretched out her hand and lightly wiped off Yi Hong's tears, then said calmly, You are much better than all of them, I didn't choose the wrong person. In the future, you will definitely be able to find a woman that is better than me. In actuality, Yi Hong really wanted to say, I don't want to find another woman, I only want to find you, that's all. However, no matter what, he wasn't able to say those words out loud. Zishan, who was looking at the night sky, slowly spat out her last sentence, so beautiful. Zishan's beautiful face slowly drooped down, and Yi Hong hurriedly held on to Zishan. Zishan's face was slightly trembling, and Yi Hong tightly hugged onto Zishan's body. Yi Hong hugged onto Zishan's ice-cold body and let out a deep howl of grief. Although Zishan doesn't like me, I like her. Ah. Chapter 300. Yi Hua's brows immediately wrinkled. Wei Chang had also sensed it, Big Brother Green had also sensed it. Basically, all of the cultivators in Long and City had sensed a terrifying aura hovering in the sky. Yi Zizi and Qin Yutong were currently playing games. Yi Zizi sighed softly. Qin Yutong asked curiously, Zizi, why are you sighing? What is love? Falling in love with someone you shouldn't like. Yi Zizi shook her head. This was probably the saddest thing in the world. Qin Yutong rolled her eyes at Yi Zizi, then looked towards the distant place where thunder and lightning were rumbling. This is indeed a man who is infatuated with love. Fuck, this baby also looks good, why aren't there any infatuated men howling at me? I, Qin Yutong, am unconvinced. Sun Fong, who was driving the QQ car, stopped by the roadside. The two of them got off the car and looked towards the place where the clouds were densely packed not far away from them. Death Mage took out a cigar, but the cigar was snatched away by Sun Fong. Can you stop smoking at such a sad time? Sun Fong said in a deep voice. Death Mage spread out his hands. I didn't expect that the little brother that my master had just accepted would be so strong. He actually managed to make a breakthrough at this moment. Skeleton, what will you do if I die? Sun Fong suddenly asked. Death Mage slightly went into a daze, then stretched out his hand and hugged Sun Fong into his embrace. I will never let something like this happen in my entire life. Yi Hua opened the window, then lit up a cigarette and looked into the distance. Zi Shan actually died. Why did she suddenly die? For Lil Red to actually let out such a wail, it seemed that something had happened to it. However, this was also good. Right now, Lai Gu was lying beside the swimming pool and mumbled, sigh, what a pity. The escaping Fiend King turned around and looked at the layers of dark clouds. He was confused. What was going on? I've already punched you once, so there's no need for you to be so angry. At the venue, Yi Hong carried Zi Shan, and her gaze was filled with killing intent. In an instant, he disappeared from his original spot. Fiend King was still running for his life. That aura just now was too terrifying. He didn't expect that an ordinary person could actually have such a powerful strength. He no longer dared to look back and flew towards the horizon. What is that black dot? Fiend King was confused. As he got closer, Fiend King hurriedly pulled the handbrake. Yi Hong, who was carrying Zi Shan, appeared in front of Fiend King. Right now, Yi Hong's entire body was emitting out a black aura, and his pair of eyes were even darker black. His expression was so calm that it was a little scary. Most probably, even Big Brother Green had never seen this version of Little Brother Red before. What do you want to do? The Fiend King asked in a deep voice. That beauty was still alive just a moment ago. How did she die in the blink of an eye? Why did you run? Yi Hong asked calmly. If he didn't run away and let me punch him, Zi Shan wouldn't have died. However, it was because he ran away. For the sake of chasing after him, Zi Shan died. Big brother, you are stronger than me. If I don't run, should I just wait to be killed by you? The Fiend King had a look of, shouldn't I run? Am I supposed to just stand there and let you kill me? Yi Hong placed Zi Shan's corpse in the air and stared at Fiend King. You must take responsibility for her death. Big brother, I didn't even touch her. Why should I take responsibility? You are being unreasonable. The Fiend King wanted to cry but had no tears. He had lived for hundreds of years, and this was the first time he had encountered such a thing. Yi Hong shouted angrily, I'm being unreasonable. As he spoke, he sent out a punch. The speed of this punch was so fast that Fiend King did not even have time to react. His entire body was sent flying like a cannonball, smashing into the ground, creating a huge crater. Boom! 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 Zishan's body was lightly floating in the air, and on her face was a smile of relief. However, below her body, rumbling sounds could be heard, and mountains were collapsing one after another. Right now, Fiend King had long been beaten to death by Yi Hong. If he didn't run away, nothing would have happened. Little brother. In actuality, Big Brother Green had been here for a long time, but he didn't stop his little brother from venting his anger. However, right now, he still couldn't help but shout out. Fiend King, who was below Yi Hong, was only left with skin and flesh. This scapegoat was too undeserved. Yi Hong turned his head around and looked towards his big brother, then shouted out hoarsely, "Big brother." Big Brother Green let out a light sigh, then pulled his little brother up. Yi Hong immediately hugged onto his big brother and cried out loudly, "Big brother, I caused Zishan's death." Big Brother Green patted onto his little brother's back and consoled, "Big brother understands, but you definitely didn't do it on purpose. Big brother, I was careless. I have to take full responsibility for Zishan's death. Big brother, you should call the police." Big Brother Green, is the detention center even able to imprison someone like you who can fly up and down freely? Big brother knows that you like her, but the dead cannot be brought back to life. My condolences. Big Brother Green patted onto his little brother's shoulder. This is truly fate making fools of people. I heard that His Honor is going to let them take their wedding photos tomorrow, and in a few days' time, they are going to get married. Yi Hong said gravely, "Big brother, now I finally understand why the male lead in the television would be so sad. My heart is in so much pain. Little brother, back then, Big Brother was cuckolded, my heart was in so much pain as well. However, life still has to continue, the earth won't stop for a single second just because you are sad." Big Brother Green used a self-mocking method to console his little brother. "Big brother, I feel that His Honor definitely has a way, let's go and beg His Honor." Right now, all of Yi Hong's hopes were placed on His Honor. Big Brother Green said gravely, "Yi Hong, calm down a bit, have you forgotten who was the one who set down those restrictions? Even if she doesn't die now, 2 months later, you will still have to kill her with your own hands. If that's the case, I would rather die in her place." "You are fucking crazy." Big Brother Green shouted out angrily. "Big brother, I am already 25 years old, and I have never had a girlfriend before. Although she doesn't like me, I am willing to sacrifice myself for her." Yi Hong looked at her big brother and shouted out. It wasn't easy to like someone, and it was even more difficult to silently sacrifice oneself for someone. Looking at his little brother's determined attitude, Big Brother Green was actually speechless. Immediately, he raised his hand, wanting to slap his little brother awake. "Stop dreaming. What can you get by sacrificing yourself like this? Will she even shed a single tear for you?" Yi Hong didn't cower, she looked at her big brother who raised his hand. Gradually, Big Brother Green lowered his hand. "You are already a grown-up, I can't control you anymore. Big brother, can you accompany me to look for His Honor?" Towards his little brother's request, Big Brother Green nodded his head in the end. Youngsters, for the sake of love, their brains will burn. In actuality, Wei Chang had already appeared beside Zishan's corpse. "A man cried for you, killed for you, and even saved you at all costs. As a deity, do you feel touched?" Wei Chang asked faintly. Zishan's primordial spirit could be seen gradually appearing in the air. Zishan's primordial spirit was very weak, and it seemed like it would disappear at any moment. Zishan had seen everything that happened just now, and she didn't expect that Yi Hong would act like this. If she said that she wasn't touched, it would be a bit fake. Even as a deity, Zishan had also fantasized about being protected by the man she loved. However, Zishan had never tasted this kind of feeling before. Chapter 301. Among the gods, men were high and mighty, especially men with power and influence. Women were their foil. Not to mention 3,000 beauties, there were even several hundred people in the harem of the princes. If they had to take turns, a woman could only enjoy sex once a year. If she suddenly died one day, the princes might not even remember her name. Apart from those who were favored, for example, even if he was favored, he would still be envied. Compared to that prince, Yi Hong might be lacking a lot, but he also had his outstanding points. Tonight, Yi Hong had taught himself a lesson. Perhaps people really couldn't be judged by their appearances. Have you thought about it? Wei Chang asked. Think about what? 2 more months. Zishan did not say anything. Initially, she had thought that it would be good for her to free herself from these people, so that she would not be threatened by these people. But when she saw how sad Yi Hong was just now, she wanted to comfort him. She really wasn't worth it. Wei Chang smiled and said, "You've never been in love before, right?" Zishan, in the past, I have never talked about it before, and his honor is the same as well. However, only after talking about it did I know that the feeling of wanting to treat the other party well and live together with her properly is truly a very good feeling. I feel that his honor is very generous towards his subordinates, and love is very sweet. His honor is willing to share this sweetness with his subordinates, but do you think that your deities will share it with you? Yi Hua, who was currently smoking beside the windowsill, choked on the smoke. I, the Supreme Overlord, just wanted to, forget it, I, the Supreme Overlord, just wanted to share the taste of love with my subordinates. Seeing that Zishan didn't say anything, Wei Chang continued, this little Red's family condition isn't very good, he doesn't have any education, and he doesn't know how to speak. When he was young, he had been hanging out with Big Brother. Although the two of them aren't blood-related brothers, they are closer than blood-related brothers. Actually, the reason why I said so much is because I want you to understand one thing, for a man to be willing to sacrifice himself for you, it really isn't easy. You have 2 choices right now. 1. With her primordial spirit dissipating, Little Red would naturally slowly accept this reality. Of course, she would also live in guilt. 2. Live on, perhaps for 2 months, perhaps for the rest of your life. It's up to you. Looking at Yi Hong, who was emotional, Zishan remained silent. After a long time, Zishan slowly said, All right, I know what you mean. Zishan's expression sank. I haven't even said anything, and you already know what I am going to say. Who are you trying to fool? But it was good that he didn't say it out loud. It's a common problem for gods to want to save face. Then I'll help you again. Wei Chang smiled and shook his head. Zishan pouted coquettishly and said, Who wants face? At this moment, the green and red brothers were flying towards them. Both of them saw Wei Chang. Yi Hong immediately knelt in front of Wei Chang and begged, Uncle Wei, can you save Zishan? Zishan, who was standing beside Wei Chang, had a complicated expression on her pretty face. Why are you doing this? I can't save her, Wei Chang said lightly. Yi Hong suddenly felt powerless. Even Uncle Wei couldn't do anything. But you can save her. Wei Chang's words immediately pulled Yi Hong from hell to heaven. Even Zishan, who was in her nascent divinity form, was shocked. Knowing that there was a chance to save Zishan, Yi Hong became very excited. Uncle Wei, what should I do? Wei Chang lightly said, That depends on how much you are willing to pay. Wei Chang thought to himself, so this is how it feels to do this kind of thing. No wonder his honor likes it so much, this is indeed very interesting. His honor had successfully led Wei Chang astray. No matter what, I am willing to pay. Yi Hong said firmly. Big Brother Green let out a sigh. First love has this kind of magical power, youngsters are completely unable to resist this kind of attack. To save her, you might lose half of your life force, are you still willing to do it? Wei Chang asked gravely. Yi Hong's face became joyful, only half. Can I give her a bit more? I want her to live a bit longer. What simple words, want her to live a bit longer. Wei Chang let out a sigh. Seems like I spoke too lightly, if I had known earlier, would have been more vicious. His honor has done well, I have to learn more from him in the future. Hearing Yi Hong's words, Zishan smiled. Want me to live a bit longer? I have already lived for too long, but this sentence sounds so simple and honest, what a fool. Little Red, you have to know one thing, even if you save her, she might not appreciate your kindness. Wei Chang said faintly with his hands behind his back, seemingly imitating his honor. Zishan, who was at the side, glared ferociously at Wei Chang. I am not as cold-blooded as you. Yi Hong naturally knew, but she still didn't hesitate. Uncle Wei, I know that Zishan will not like me, but I only want her to live, to be able to take a look at her every day is enough. Wei Chang let out a deep sigh, and Zishan, who was at the side, had a grave expression on her face. Uncle Wei, I have another request. Yi Hong said again. Speak. Uncle Wei, please keep this matter a secret, I don't want Zishan to know about it. Wei Chang and Big Brother Green were puzzled. Such a heroic deed, if I don't tell her about it, how am I supposed to obtain the heart of the beauty? Big Brother Green wished he could raise his hand and slap Zishan. You have already sacrificed so much, if you don't let others know about it, you must be stupid. Why? Wei Chang was very curious about what Yi Hong was thinking. Zishan was also very curious about Yi Hong's answer. Yi Hong scratched the back of his head embarrassedly and said while stammering, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that Zishan will laugh at me. Everyone was speechless. What kind of logic is this? Why would Zishan laugh at you? This is a typical male chauvinist, wanting face. This is the type of person who likes someone to death, but is unable to say it out. Furthermore, I don't want the other party to know about how much I have sacrificed, fearing that the other party would laugh at me after knowing about it. Therefore, I might as well keep it a secret. Wei Chang looked towards Zishan, who was at the side, and discovered that Zishan's expression wasn't as stiff as before. If Zishan's expression is still as cold as before after hearing what I said, there's no need to redeem her expression. Alright, I promise you that I will help you keep this secret. Wei Chang said. Yi Hong looked towards his big brother. Big Brother Green said helplessly, alright, Big Brother won't say anything. Yi Hong was able to be at ease, but little did he know that Zishan had been looking at him all this while. Uncle Wei, how do I save Zishan? Yi Hong asked excitedly. Wei Chang let out a breath, do you remember what I taught you? Just transfer the aura into your body, and it will do. So simple. Wei Chang nodded his head with a smile, alright, I will be going back first. You two should also go back and rest early, and remember to take your wedding photos tomorrow. Yi Hong was extremely happy right now, and I understand. Little brother, go back home and save Zishan. Big Brother Green reminded. Yi Hong carried on to Zishan's corpse, then disappeared into the night sky together with his big brother. Yi Hua flicked away the cigarette butt, then revealed an arc on the corner of his mouth. Ollie, it's time to sleep with Daddy. Ollie, I still want to watch for a while, just a while. Dong Huangli began acting coquettishly. Chapter 302. Inside the villa, Yi Hong carried Zishan, who was gradually stiffening, and placed her on the bed. Soon after, Yi Hong lightly moved aside the hair on Zishan's forehead. So beautiful. Zishan, who was under her primordial spirit, was standing at the side. Her expression was very complicated. No one knew what she was thinking. Yi Hong stretched out her hands and was about to press it. When Zishan saw Yi Hong's action, she scolded, where are you going to press it? That's right, Yi Hong was about to press it on her chest. Don't they always do this on TV? However, she did not press it. She felt that it was not good, so she retracted her hands. Zishan glared at Yi Hong. You're molesting my corpse. Right now, Yi Hong was thinking, where should I press it? It feels like I'm eating tofu wherever I press it. Looking at those white and slender hands, she swallowed her saliva and grabbed onto them. Zishan, who was at the side, frowned and did not say anything. A faint black fog came out from Yi Hong's hands and gradually spread to Zishan's arms. Very quickly, the black fog wrapped around Zishan. Xiao Yi also had this kind of black fog in his body. At that time, when his heart was pierced, he was still able to recover. From this, it could be seen how powerful this black fog was. However, this black fog was only a small passive ability of Wei Chang. Zishan's primordial spirit gradually disappeared with a complicated expression. Yi Hong did not care about anything and continued to transfer as much energy as she could into Zishan's body. The cold and delicate hand in her palm gradually warmed up. This made Yi Hong overjoyed. Uncle Wei did not lie to her, this is great. 5 minutes later, Zishan's body gradually became rosy. At the same time, she opened her eyes. When Yi Hong saw that Zishan woke up, she was so scared that she immediately let go of Zishan and retreated to the side. The two of them did not say anything. The atmosphere was very awkward. After a long time, Zishan said faintly, I'm going to take a bath. After she finished speaking, she stood up and walked into the bathroom. Yi Hong heaved a sigh of relief. I finally saved her. After making the bed on the floor, Yi Hong was very excited. After Zishan finished her bath, Yi Hong also went to take a bath. The smell of blood on her body was very heavy. In the dark bedroom, 2 hearts were beating slightly. Yi Hong could not sleep, and Zishan could not sleep either. After a while, Zishan said softly, Yi Hong, thank you. Seeing that Yi Hong did not say anything, Zishan mustered up her courage and said, Yi Hong, I know what you are thinking. I can promise you that I will be your girlfriend for 2 months, but after 2 months, I hope that you will not save me anymore. I am not worthy of you doing this for me. From the looks of it, Zishan was indeed moved by Yi Hong and was willing to be his girlfriend for 2 months. However, Zishan still refused Yi Hua's order and refused to sleep with Yi Hong. However, who knows what will happen 2 months later. At that time, wasn't Qinya still very arrogant? And right now, wasn't she still being trained by Yi Hua to be completely obedient? However, Yi Hua was, after all, Yi Hua. He was different from Yi Hong. When Zishan saw that Yi Hong did not reply even after a long time, she furrowed her eyebrows and looked at Yi Hong. Fell asleep, Zishan laughed and closed her beautiful eyes. Yi Hong, who was lying on the mattress on the floor, opened her eyes. She had heard everything just now and was actually very happy. She was so happy that she didn't know what to say. However, when she heard the latter part of the sentence, her heart sank again. Kill her. That was impossible. I owe his honor a debt of gratitude, and she is also the person I like. At most, I will go and beg his honor 2 months later. At most, I will exchange a life for a life. Early morning. Today was a good day for Yi Hong. After all, his honor had already arranged everything for her to take their wedding photos. Just thinking about it makes me a bit excited. However, the prerequisite is that I have to toss all of my worries to the back of my mind. After washing up, Yi Hong brought Zishan and walked out of the villa. Big brother naturally wouldn't be a third wheel. Zishan, what do you want to eat for breakfast? Yi Hong felt that Zishan wasn't that distant from him today. Zishan was even walking side by side with him. Zishan said unhurriedly, cold noodles. Hearing what Zishan said, Yihong became even more happy. In the past, I would just casually, alright. After arriving at the city district and alighting from the car in front of a cold noodle shop, they immediately received attention. The little brother Red today was a bit different. His face was still the same, and his hairstyle was still the same. However, after what happened last night, he seemed to have become more mature. This was a kind of qualitative change in his temperament, and he no longer looked like a loafer. In actuality, the Red and Green brothers didn't know that the aura within their bodies was slowly changing their bodies. Boss, 2 bowls of cold noodles, 1 bowl without chili. Yihong shouted out. Yesterday, he had also brought Zishan to eat cold noodles, but Zishan had picked out all of the chili from the cold noodles. Therefore, today, Yihong became more careful. Zishan didn't have much of an expression on her face, she was very indifferent, but who knew what she was thinking in her heart? Yihong didn't take it to heart. It's fine to just watch, at least it's better than losing it. After finishing eating cold noodles, the two went to the studio that had been arranged beforehand. I'm afraid that I will have to spend the entire day shooting indoors. Meanwhile, when those staff members saw Zishan, they were all attracted to her. What a cold and arrogant woman, this little brother is very fortunate. Right now, Yihong had changed into a black suit, and he looked much more mature. His hairstyle had also changed, and he felt as if he had become a completely different person, looking extremely handsome. However, when Yihong saw Zishan coming out of the mirror, he couldn't help but stiffen. Although Zishan doesn't have an absolute beauty like the two madams, in my eyes, Zishan is the most beautiful woman in the world. This was the first time Zishan wore a white wedding dress, and when she saw herself in the mirror, she was a bit surprised. There are indeed a lot of fun things in the secular world. The two of you, come over here. The photographer said with a light smile. Stop looking, if I continue looking, I won't even be able to finish shooting today. Yihong and Zishan walked to the front of the set, and each stood on one side. The photographer felt very awkward. Are the two of you here to shoot wedding photos? Why are you standing so far away? Is there an air wall in the middle? The two of you, can you get a bit closer? The photographer said speechlessly. Yihong was very nervous. Zishan was also a bit nervous, and her hands were still holding on to the flowers. Seeing that the bride and groom were not moving, the photographer seemed to have sensed something and did not rush them. You, come over here. In the end, Zishan still called out to Yihong. After getting Zishan's permission, Yihong was at ease and stood at the side. But, isn't this too formal, too serious? What about on the battlefield? The groom hugged the bride and smiled. The photographer shouted out. Yihong didn't dare to recklessly touch Zishan. Hug me. Zishan said lightly. This caused Yihong's heart to beat a bit faster. Zishan actually wants me to hug her, my god, I'm not dreaming right. Groom, don't be embarrassed, the bride has already spoken. Yihong took a deep breath. This is even more nervous than cheating in exams. Yihong stretched out his hand and lightly hugged onto Zishan's slender waist, then smelled the fragrance that was being emitted out from Zishan's body. So, the world can really be so beautiful. The photographer said with a smile, all right. Smile. Yihong was nervous to the point that he couldn't smile anymore. And when Zishan revealed out a faint smile, even the photographer couldn't help but become dazed for a bit. Groom, the bride is already smiling, hurry up and cooperate. Chapter 303. Good, this is the smile. The photographer was very satisfied. Next, they took all kinds of photos. He would think about what would happen 2 months later. He had to seize the moment and enjoy every second of every day. Inside the bedroom on the second floor of Leisure Bar, both father and daughter had yet to wake up. Dong Wang Li's entire body was lying on her father's body, and from time to time, she would purse her small mouth. The void twisted and the two wives finally returned home. Yihua naturally sensed it. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at Qingye and Donghuang Baiji with a calm expression. Donghuang Li also sat up and rubbed her big eyes. When she saw her mommy, she pouted her small mouth and helped her daddy get up. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were helpless. Both the elder and the younger are angry. However, upon seeing that Yihua was able to stand up with the support of the crutches, the two women immediately became joyous. Yihua, are you done? Yihua, can you leave now? Are you all blind? I, the Supreme Overlord, have already stood up and you all are still asking me. Yihua raised his walking stick and took a look at his two wives indifferently, then said calmly, "Ali, accompany Daddy to buy breakfast." All right, Donghuang Li cooperated with her father very well. In actuality, the two of them had already discussed about it. If their mommy were to return, they would use this kind of method to deal with them. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji laughed bitterly, then held on to their husband's side. Why did you come back? It's so fun outside. Yihua said faintly, and his tone was filled with the taste of jealousy. As expected of the vinegar king of the cultivation world, to actually be jealous of the heir. Hubby, even if it was Yihua who had sworn to ignore them just a second ago, he still wouldn't be able to endure the two of them acting coquettishly towards him. In the future, if you all dare to go out of the house again, you all can go and kneel on the keyboard. Yihua said gravely. If you have the heart to do that, we will kneel to you, Qingye smiled tenderly. This fellow is only saying it with his mouth. Yihua clicked his tongue, then prepared to go to the alley to eat Chinese jianbing. The point was not to eat the pancake, but to show off. Didn't that Andy say that I would capsize? Look at him now, his two wives are so obedient, and there's even a cute Ollie. Facts have proven that I am never wrong. Sure enough, when the auntie saw Yihua, she gave him a thumbs up. The auntie was convinced. Yihua was very complacent. I have finally turned the tables. Returning back to the bedroom, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji fawned on Yihua. They gave Yihua a massage, and even fed him fruits. Yihua said magnanimously, I forgive the two of you. Just as he finished speaking, the slender hand on his shoulder disappeared, and the fruit was also put away. You all. Yihua was shocked. You guys are too realistic. While holding hands with Donghuang Baiji, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji said with a smile, Yihua, since you are able to move now, you don't need us to serve you anymore. Let's go and look for Yutong and Zizi to eat chicken, bye-bye. After finished speaking, Yihua turned around and left. Only when the door was closed did Yihua react. What a lawless woman. Go and kneel on the keyboard for me, and you still want to act like you're eating chicken. Eat my food. A week passed by very quickly. During this week, Yihua asked the two women what they were doing during those few days. In the end, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji gave Yihua a rough idea of what they were doing during those few days. This caused Yihua to be very worried. Recently, I have been preparing to have another child with Baiji. After I recover, I will be able to start working. I, the Supreme Overlord, will definitely put more effort into my child. As long as I don't have another child, I will not give up. When Donghuang Baiji heard what Yihua said, she was immediately startled. Thus, Yihua's recovery speed was much faster than anyone else's. For the sake of having a child, Yihua was quite diligent. However, there was a happy event that happened today, and it was a happy event for the entire team. And that was his underling Zihong and Zishan's wedding. The two's wedding was the outdoor kind. Originally, Yihua wanted to invite the big shots from various regions over, but since his underlings said that he wanted to keep a low profile, Yihua decided to let him have his way. Other than Death Mage and Sun Fang, who were not present due to inconvenience, everyone else was present. After all, Zhu Tian had only met the two women not too long ago. This time, Zhu Tian turned into his original form and was carried by Yi Zizi. When the women saw such a cute cat, they immediately surrounded Yi Zizi and stroked Yi Zizi. This caused Zhu Tian to feel very annoyed. Today, Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi were also dressed splendidly. However, they knew that they shouldn't steal the limelight from the bride. Thus, the color of their clothes was a bit plain. Lai Gu's three celebrities were also the same, each and every one of them was incomparably beautiful. Of course, there was also Wei Chang's little girlfriend, Tang Wei. Right now, she was also exuding a faint charm, it really made people sigh. Yihua was dressed very cautiously today, because today, he was acting as the MC. As the boss, I definitely have to host the wedding of my underlings. In the future, every time my underlings get married, I have to be like this too. Only then will I be able to show the care and concern of a boss. Standing on the stage and looking at the people below, Yihua sighed with emotion. Unknowingly, there were so many more people in the team. In the past, there were always 8 people. Now, there were more than 10. There would be more and more of them in the future. Seeing that everyone's face was brimming with smiles, Yihua also revealed out a smile that was rarely seen on his face. This feeling is truly great. Let's welcome the bride and groom. Yihua stood on the stage and shouted out loudly. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi smiled helplessly. This fellow is even more excited that his little brother is getting married. All of the underlings were very envious of little brother Red. Little brother Red was actually able to get his honor to host his wedding. Just what kind of glory is this? Tang Wei was also very envious. After I graduate, I will also marry Uncle Wei. Lai Gu's 3 wives were also the same. They were all envious. In actuality, the ones who were the most envious were still Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi. They are so concerned about their little brother's wedding, but why aren't they concerned about their own wedding at all? Big Brother Green turned on the music, and the wedding march started playing. Donghuang Li could be seen walking at the front while holding onto a flower basket. Donghuang Li's cute little face was bright red, and she seemed to be a bit nervous. Yi Hong was wearing a red suit today, and he looked very handsome. Zi Shan, who was beside Zi Shan, was holding onto Yi Hong's hand. Zi Shan was wearing a white veil on her head. Yi Hua, who was standing on the stage, felt very gratified. I didn't waste my efforts. All of the underlings also discovered that his honor's change was really big. In the past, if this kind of thing happened, Zi Shan would have been killed long ago. This kind of thing happens very often. The number of beauties that died in his honor's hands was innumerable, and even the most beautiful women were killed by his honor. And now, not only was Zi Shan not killed, his honor even gave Zi Shan a fated marriage. Don't look at it as just a small fated marriage, didn't his honor still expand his team? As for whether or not Zi Shan likes Yi Hong or not, no one knows. However, at least from the looks of it, Zi Shan doesn't seem to dislike Yi Hong at all. The two slowly walked onto the stage, and the big brother walked onto the stage while holding onto a plate with the wedding rings on it. Yihua coughed lightly. What I want to ask now, I hope that you all can answer truthfully. Chapter 304. Yi Hong, are you willing to marry her? No matter what happens in the future, we will stick together through life and death. Yihua's question was rather simple, but it directly hit the main point. How many people could live and die together? I'm willing. Yi Hong said firmly. However, Yihua was not satisfied and said gravely, a man's voice must be loud. shouted out. I'm willing. Yihua nodded his head. As expected of my underlings. Looking towards Zishan, Yihua asked gravely, Zishan, are you willing to marry this man in front of you? No matter what happens in the future, we will live and die together. Right now, everyone who knew what was going on was very nervous. If Zishan were to say that she was not willing right now, she would definitely anger his honor. Needless to say, there was no need to think too much about the consequences. In actuality, the one who was the most nervous was Yihong. The more she interacted with Zishan, the deeper they fell for each other. Furthermore, during the past few days, Zishan had also changed a lot. She really resembles my girlfriend a lot. At the very least, Zishan is no longer fierce towards me. I'm willing. Zishan's gentle voice rang out in the hall. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. The happy event did not turn into a bad one. Yihong was so excited that her lips were trembling. She was willing. She was really willing. He suddenly realized that doing anything for her was worth it. Yihua was also very satisfied with Zishan's attitude. However, Zishan's gaze had always been on Yihong. Other than Zishan didn't have a good impression of anyone else. Let's exchange rings. Yihua said with a light smile. With trembling hands, Yihong picked up the wedding ring and put it on Zishan's hand. Zishan appeared to be much calmer as she placed the wedding ring on Yihong's finger. Alright, I declare it. You two are now legally husband and wife. Yihua shouted out. The audience also applauded, and Big Brother Green even shed tears. Little brother had finally gotten married. Yihua waved his hand, indicating for everyone to quiet down, then said, Do you want to see the groom kiss the bride? Your Honor, when did you become so mischievous? Wasn't he happy? Qinya and Donghuang Baiji smiled helplessly. However, they were also able to see Yihua's change. He was no longer as cold as before, and he had become more humane. Yes. Ali wants to see meow. Yihua looked at Yihong and said, You have heard everyone's thoughts, right? Don't let the girl take the initiative. Hearing that, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were very puzzled. What do you mean by this time? What about the last time? However, he was quickly attracted by the atmosphere of the scene. The nervous Yihong didn't know what to say, while Zishan slowly closed her beautiful eyes. Lai Gu immediately stood on the chair and started whistling. Along with Lai Gu leading the way, everyone started heckling. Looking at this kind of scene, Yihua felt that he should hold more events like this in the future. Yihong mustered up her courage and gently hugged Zishan. She lifted the white veil and slowly lowered her head to kiss Zishan's tender and beautiful lips. Yihua couldn't help but nod his head. This is more like a man. But it was not domineering enough. The audience applauded enthusiastically. Although there weren't any big shots, everyone present could easily destroy them, especially the 4 of the 7 deadly sins. Don't be in such a hurry to consummate your marriage, I still have a few things that I want to ask you too. Yihua said faintly. Everyone couldn't help but be curious as to what His Honor was going to ask. Wei Chang hurriedly noted down what His Honor was going to ask. In the future, His Honor will definitely have to take a test on him. Big Brother Green was also at the side, taking down notes. Who is going to do the housework in the future? Yihua asked. Everyone, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji rolled their eyes at Yihua. You still have the nerve to ask. Are you afraid that you have already done the housework? In the end, aren't the 2 of us sweeping the floor while you act like a big boss? Me. Yihong rushed to answer. Yihua's expression sunk. Yihua asked again, who is going to take the express delivery? Me. Yihong rushed to answer again. There's no need to ask anymore, this is the rhythm of taking care of everything. Yihua took a glare at Yihong. Are you even a man? This kind of thing is for women to do, why are you rushing to do it? Yihong naturally understood his honor's meaning, but I just want to do it. Yihua asked gravely, who is going to cook in the future? Me. Zishan said slowly. Yihong was startled, but there was happiness within the shock. Yihua was very satisfied. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji really wanted to pull their man down. If you continue to make a fuss like this, others are going to get a divorce. Who is going to peel the crayfish? Yihua asked. Zishan said slowly, me. Yihua took a look at his little brother. Men must be domineering, if not how are they going to establish themselves in the family in the future? Little brother Red didn't understand. In actuality, Zishan didn't want Yihong to offend Yihua. After all, it wasn't worth it for Zishan to offend Yihua for herself. Meanwhile, Wei Chang and Big Brother Green took note of his honor's question. The last event, tossing a bouquet. Those who aren't married, come and snatch it, whoever manages to snatch it will be the next lucky person. I will be the host of the wedding. Yihua, who was so happy, almost let it slip. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji could be seen walking up first. Yihua glared at them fiercely. Why are you two coming up to join in the fun? Qingye rolled her eyes at Yihua. We want to get married. Right now, even your wife is going up, do the others still dare to go up? Yihua shouted out, who is that, Tang Wei? Come up. Also, the three of you come up too. Wei Chang and Lai Gu, the two of you come up too. Also, Little Green, come up too. Brother-in-law, I want to come up too. Qing Yutong shouted out excitedly. Since everyone is going up, it isn't too appropriate for me to sit together with a minor, right? Yi Zizi was sucking on her lollipop while hugging onto the board Ju Tian. It's none of your business, go to the side. Yihua glared at his sister-in-law. Your big sister is joining in the fun, you come up too. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth. I don't even have a boyfriend yet. Yi Hong was very nervous. These big brothers are all standing at the back, waiting for Zishan to toss a bouquet. Meanwhile, Zishan also felt that this group of people was different. Within the seriousness, there was a hint of laughter. They seemed to be very happy together, and the smile on everyone's face was very genuine. Lai Gu shouted out loudly, don't snatch with me, I want to get married. Lai Gu, if you dare to snatch my bouquet, you are dead for sure. Qingye shouted out with a smile. Lady boss, this is the boss's order. Wei Chang laughed out loudly, Lai Gu, your boss wants to stew you. The few beauties on the stage immediately laughed endlessly. Yihua felt that the atmosphere was about right, and he shouted out, snatch properly, don't cheat. Everyone naturally wouldn't cheat, after all, cheating wouldn't work. With her back facing everyone, Zishan tossed the bouquet with her hands. The bouquet drew an arc in the air. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were standing too close to the front, and the bouquet was already above the two people's heads. Wei Chang and Lai Gu could be seen immediately jumping up to snatch the bouquet, and in the process of snatching the bouquet was sent flying away. Qing Yutong's eyes lit up. I can snatch the bouquet even though I'm sitting down. At this moment, a gust of wind blew over, and the bouquet actually flew towards Ju Tian, who was in Yi Zizi's embrace. Ju Tian's brows wrinkled, then stretched out his paw and slapped towards the bouquet. When everyone saw this, they thought, what a temperamental cat. Chapter 305. Big Brother Green didn't react for a moment, but when he did, he was excited. First, he did an impromptu Thomas spin, and the turf was almost gone. Looking at Qingye and Donghuang Baiji rolling their eyes at him, Yihua felt that there was nothing he could do about it. Who asked the two of you to be so stupid and stand at the very front? At the end of the ceremony, everyone began to chat. The women were grouped together, and the men were grouped together. The women were all asking the bride special questions, and Tang Wei also wanted to learn a bit of experience. After that, they started to talk about cosmetics. Actually, at their level, cosmetics were actually not very useful. As for Yi Hua and the others, they weren't discussing such a small matter. Your Honor, according to Sun Fang's news, a lot of foreigners have appeared in the south, and it seems like they want to take advantage of us. Wei Chang said gravely. Everyone remained silent. If Yi Hua didn't speak, how could they possibly continue the conversation? Yi Hua drank a mouthful of champagne, then let them have it. After we are full, we will catch them all in one go. Lai Gu praised, Your Honor sure has a good plan. Just when they thought that they had succeeded, Your Honor immediately shouted at them, Your Honor is formidable. Lai Gu, you even know how to speak now. Yi Hua laughed lightly. Lai Gu scratched his chin embarrassedly. Recently, I have been reading books and gaining knowledge. That would be for the best. Knowledge is power, the two of you should also learn more. Yi Hua looked towards the Green and Red brothers and said. The Green and Red brothers naturally agreed to His Honor's request. Following His Honor, we will definitely be able to eat and drink well. Yi Hong had a look that seemed like she had something to say but didn't dare to say it. Yi Hua asked curiously, Xiao Hong, if you have something to say, just say it. Why are you stuttering like a man? Your Honor, are you able to take back that 2 months deadline? Yi Hong asked while trembling with fear. When this question came out, Wei Chang and Lai Gu's complexion immediately darkened. Even Big Brother Green also scolded me for being an idiot. You want His Honor to take back what he said. Don't you want to live anymore? Or are you too full of yourself? Yi Hong knew that she had said the wrong thing. Yi Hong lowered her head and scolded herself for being an idiot in her heart. His Honor is already treating me so well, and yet, I still have the cheek to raise a request. When Zi Shan saw that Yi Hong had her head lowered, and the other people's expressions were extremely ugly, Zi Shan could roughly guess what Yi Hong was talking about. Yi Hua patted on Yi Hong's shoulder, then walked towards his wives without saying anything. Lai Gu shook his head and walked away as well. This is also your wedding day. If it was any other time, His Honor would definitely give you a scolding. The reason why Yi Hua patted on Little Brother Red's shoulder was because he wanted to tell Little Brother Red that I, the Supreme Overlord, can bestow, and can also take back. Don't forget your place. Xiao Hong, don't beg His Honor for this matter anymore, if not, the consequences will be very serious. Wei Chang said gravely. Right now, in this kind of situation, Zi Shan could only save herself and get pregnant at the fastest speed possible. However, Zi Shan wouldn't do such a thing, and this caused Yi Hong to have no choice but to anger His Honor. This is a very troublesome problem. After saying that, Wei Chang went to accompany his girlfriend, leaving Big Brother Green behind. Little brother, don't be discouraged. Enlighten Zi Shan and strive to get her pregnant as soon as possible. That way, nothing will happen. How could Yi Hong not know about her big brother's persuasion? But she didn't want to force it. She was actually very satisfied with her current life. After chatting for a long time, everyone went back to their own home. Yi Hua finally knew what was called reap what you sow. Right now, he was asking questions in his ears. Yi Hua, when are you going to marry us? Yi Hua, do you not want to marry us? Yi Hua, do you have another woman outside again? Papa, Ollie also wants to get married. It seemed that he couldn't let them attend weddings in the future. However, as for getting married, Yi Hua had naturally thought about it before. My wedding with them must be an unprecedentedly grand spectacle. However, that still requires a bit of time, because I have yet to conquer the sea of stars. Zijin City. Qing family's villa. A handsome man drove a Bentley and stopped in front of the villa. The man took a lot of gifts from the car, then walked to the door and knocked. The door of the house could be seen being opened, and the woman who appeared was precisely Qingya's mother, Zihan. Looking at the unfamiliar handsome man in front of her, Zihan asked in confusion, "You are? Aunt Zi, don't you remember me? I am Qin Xuanzong. When I was young, I used to play at your house. When I was studying, I would come back home with Qingya every day. At that time, I was very fat." As he spoke, Qin Xuanzong puffed up his cheeks, proving that he was still the big fatty from before. Zihan suddenly recalled, back then when she was in Long An City, there was a family with the surname Qin who lived in the neighbor's house. When she was young, she remembered that he was still chubby. It had been a few years since she last saw him, and he had become so handsome. "Oh, it's little Qin. Please come in," Zihan said with a smile. "Thank you, Aunt." Qin Xuanzong changed into slippers and walked into the house. Everything feels so familiar, as if it happened just yesterday. "Aunt Zi, is Qingya not at home?" Although Qin Xuanzong knew why Qingya wasn't at home, he still couldn't help but ask. Perhaps, history has changed. Upon mentioning her daughter, Zihan let out a deep sigh. Seeing that Aunt's expression wasn't good, Qin Xuanzong knew that history had not changed. Qingya was still following that bastard Long Outyin. "Aunt, quickly sit." Qin Xuanzong placed down the gifts and helped Zihan to sit down. "Looking at this handsome man in front of me, at least it is better than the Yihua who has a stern face, right? Why is Qingya so stubborn?" Zihan let out a heavy sigh. "Little Qin, to tell you the truth, Qingya is living outside in a fit of pique again. As expected, that Long Outyin is really inhumane. Not only did he harm Qingya, he also harmed Xin Yutong. He is simply inhumane. Brother, ever since Yihua appeared, your memory has been messed up. Long Outyin is still struggling in his cave. Qingya's temper is a bit bad, but she still cares about the family." Qin Xuanzong naturally had to put in a good word for Qingya. Zihan still had some impression of the little fatty in the past. At that time, he was shy and bashful. Now, he is so tall and handsome. He is indeed a good match for Qingya. Stop putting in a good word for her, she is infuriating me to death. Qin Xuanzong laughed lightly, appearing to be very magnanimous. This made Zihan feel that this person is more stable than Long Outyin. "Little Qin, why did you suddenly move back then?" Zihan asked curiously. Qin Xuanzong's expression stiffened. Back then, he didn't move, but rather, his entire family was exterminated. Back then, he wasn't there, so he managed to escape the calamity. After that, he concealed his identity and lived in seclusion. However, he still paid attention to Qingya. However, after hearing the news of Qingya's suicide, Qin Xuanzong became addicted to alcohol, and in the end, he jumped into a river and died. In the end, he reincarnated into a different world, became a demon emperor, and returned. Qin Xuanzong laughed lightly. "Auntie, it's all because of the family's business problems. Back then, I left in a hurry and didn't even have the time to greet Qingya. It's fine, I will call Qingya back right now. I am really worried about her staying in the south all day long." After speaking, Zihan picked up her phone and called her daughter. Right now, Qingya was currently being pressed down by Yihua, and Yihua was using all of his strength to enjoy Qingya's cherry lips. "Stop messing around, my phone is ringing." "Don't answer it," Yihua said gravely. "I am currently enjoying myself, and no one is allowed to disturb me." "Wait a moment." Qingya rolled her eyes at Yihua. Yihua wrinkled his brows. "Hurry up. Picking up the phone, Yihua saw that the call was from his mother. It has been a long time since he last saw his mother, and he misses her a lot. Chapter 306. When Yihua heard this name, he frowned. He had a bad premonition. Zihan said weakly on the other side of the phone, Mom misses you. This sentence directly poked the softest part of Chinya's heart. Thinking about it, I haven't gone back to see Mom for a long time. Sigh. Mom, I miss you too. Chinya sat on the bedside and said gently. Yihua hugged Chinya and gave her a warning look. You just came back for a few days, and you want to go out again. I heard from your dad that the South isn't very peaceful recently. We are worried about you and your sister staying there. Mom, you can be at ease, Yutong and I are very safe, nothing will happen to us. Chinya consoled her mom attentively, however, this damned bastard was still randomly touching my body again. Zihan said faintly, your dad might be stubborn, but he actually misses you guys a lot. His body hasn't been very good these few days, so Grandpa and Grandma have been staying here. Chinya thought about it and agreed. Dad definitely got some news that the South isn't safe, so he called Grandpa and Grandma over. Hearing that her daughter didn't say anything, Zihan held onto her forehead and said, Mom's body hasn't been very good these few days either. If Chinya still didn't go back, she would be unfilial. Mom, I know. Yutong and I will come back in a few days. Chinya said helplessly. Yihua's gaze turned cold. What are you trying to do? Leaving so soon? Do you want to die? Don't come back in a few days. Mom misses you. All right, as soon as possible. Hearing that her daughter agreed, Zihan heaved a sigh of relief and hung up the phone. This is really worrisome. I had to pretend to be sick before coming. Zihan stood up helplessly and poured a cup of water for Chen Xuanzong. Chen Xuanzong thanked her and took the teacup. Auntie, Chinya is just concerned about you. Zihan smiled and asked curiously, Little Chen, have you found a girlfriend? Sigh, it's hard to find a girlfriend. I'm still single. Chen Xuanzong smiled embarrassedly. Zihan smiled, Little Chen, don't say that. With your conditions, you are still looking for a girlfriend. But it's hard to find someone who is sincere. Chen Xuanzong let out a sigh. Zihan seemed to understand something and took a sip of tea awkwardly. Chen Xuanzong also knew that he had said too much. He said apologetically, Auntie, I'm sorry. I'm fine. Then, I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. I won't disturb your rest any longer, Auntie. Chen Xuanzong stood up and acted very modestly. Zihan deeply liked him. Zihan nodded, Okay, Little Chen, take care. Oh right, Little Chen, give me your phone number, if comes back, I'll call you. Chen Xuanzong was overjoyed. He took out his name card and said, Thank you, Auntie. Yes, Auntie has high hopes for you. Walking out of Qing family's villa, Chen Xuanzong let out a sigh of relief. In my previous life, I wasn't able to bring happiness to Chinya, so in this life, I will definitely cherish her properly and not let her suffer any harm. Zihan, who was in the house, looked at the name card in her hand. It was made of pure gold, and there was only a name on it. It was engraved in a flamboyant style, Chen Xuanzong. It looked very imposing, and there was a phone number on the back. This young man was not bad. Zihan, who came just now? Qin Yutong's mother, Wang Muqing walked down from upstairs while yawning. Zihan laughed lightly, one of Er's childhood companions. Those two are always making one worry. Wang Muqing poured a cup of water, and that coquettish look of hers was truly amorous. Chinya's father is also someone who knows how to enjoy life. I gave a call just now, she will bring Yutong back. Really? Wang Muqing cried out in surprise. Zihan nodded her head. As long as my daughter says it, she will definitely do it. Just that, there will be very serious consequences, such as being bullied by Yihua. You want to go back? Yihua asked coldly. Qinya placed down her phone and looked at Yihua, then suddenly pushed her hands forward. Qinya pushed Yihua onto the bed, then very domineeringly kissed her man. I, the Supreme Overlord, like this kind of domineering woman, even a kiss can be so awesome. Yihua, I, the Supreme Overlord, can't stand this kind of sound the most, and goosebumps immediately appeared on my body. This is how people behave when they have something to ask of me. Yihua Yihua asked gravely, how many days are you going to be gone for? Half a month. Half a month. Yihua shouted out gravely. Ever since Qinya awakened that whatever bloodline of hers, Qinya has been wandering around and not returning home at all times. Even I, the Supreme Overlord, am not as busy as you. That is 10 days. Qinya shook Yihua's arm and begged. Yihua said gravely, 1 week. If you don't come back in a week, don't blame me for catching you. Alright, it's settled then. Upon hearing that Yihua agreed to it, Qinya immediately jumped off the bed. As expected, he couldn't agree to it. He wouldn't even give her any benefits. Wasn't 1 more week too long? Actually, 2 or 3 days would suffice. Qinya opened up the wardrobe and prepared some clothes. Yihua, when I'm not around, you should focus on making a baby with Baiji. Hee. Yihua sneered. Also, Zizi has to go to school tomorrow to register, don't forget about it. Qinya reminded. Yihua was very displeased. This is clearly what you wanted to do, and now, you are pushing everything onto me. You're my husband moi, there was nothing wrong with his words. Why are you packing things so early for? I'm going early and coming back early, lest you, the jealous king of the cultivation world, get mad at me. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched, then snorted, Yihua, will get jealous. You are thinking too much. It's even better if you don't get jealous, let your wife kiss you, be good. Do you think that I, the Supreme Overlord, am a 3-year-old child? Just a kiss is enough. I don't even need to hug. After Qinya finished packing, she booked a flight in the afternoon. Why didn't she just fly back directly? Because Qinya didn't want to lose her normal way of thinking. Just like Yihua, in situations where it wasn't very urgent, he would still take public transportation. Qinya walked to Qin Yutong's room, and not long later, she heard Qin Yutong wailing. What's with big sister's situation? Yihua raised his walking stick and said to Qin Yutong, if your big sister wants you to go back, then go back, don't dawdle. However, Yihua sent a private message to Qin Yutong, look after your big sister well, I will give you meat to eat when I come back. Upon hearing that there would be meat to eat, Qin Yutong's expression changed. Big sister, we haven't gone back for too long, hurry up and pack up. Qinya was no longer an ordinary person. Although she wasn't able to hear their private message, she knew that it was Yihua who was messing around. To actually send a spy to watch over me, what a stingy man. However, Qinya still felt sweet in her heart. Zizi, sister-in-law will be going back for a few days, you have to be obedient. Qinya rubbed onto Yizizi's head and warned carefully. Yizizi nodded her head, I will be obedient. Chapter 307. The more she said that, the more Yihua didn't believe her. At this moment, Donghuang Baiji walked over while carrying her daughter. What are you two doing? Qinya is going back to my parents' home for a few days. Yihua said faintly. Qinya pinched onto Donghuang Li's cheeks. Baiji, please take care of Yi Hua, I won't disturb the two of you anymore. Dong Huang Baiji's face turned red. Aunt Qing, are you two going out to play? Ollie wants to go out to play too. Dong Huangli stretched out her hands towards Qingya. Qingya carried Dong Huangli in her embrace. Aunt Qing is not going out to play, I am going back to see my parents. Is that so? According to etiquette, Ollie should also go and see her parents, if not, Ollie would seem to be very rude. Dong Huangli muttered, causing everyone to laugh. Yi Hua suddenly had an idea. Qingya, you can bring Ollie along to play. Ah. Ah. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji cried out in surprise. After crying out in surprise, Qingya understood what Yi Hua meant. Towards Dong Huang Baiji, there was nothing she could do. Dong Huang Baiji glared at Yi Hua. Daddy is the best, Ollie likes Daddy. Dong Huangli happily jumped down from Qingya's embrace, and not long later, she came back with a small luggage. Ollie is ready, when are we leaving? Everyone, at 3 p.m., Yi Hua naturally had to send Qingya and his daughter off. Dong Huang Baiji was also by his side, because Yi Hua was going to be responsible for driving later on. Yi Hua's driving was like a bumper car. When he saw someone cutting in front of him, he couldn't help but step on the accelerator. When they arrived at the airport, the few people were quite eye-catching. One was a cute little girl, and 3 were super beauties. A lot of foreigners took out their phones and started taking pictures. Such beauties were truly hard to come by in 100 years. Baiji, you two can go back first, I will take good care of Ollie, Qingya said with a smile while carrying Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli said, Daddy, Mommy, you two can go back first, Ollie will take good care of Aunt Qing. Qing Yutong naturally disguised herself as the big sister. She wore her earphones and stood behind the big sister while sucking on the lollipop that Yi Zizi gave her. Yi Hua silently nodded his head, then said casually, Qingya, I want to ask you a few questions. Papa is going to take a test, everyone smiled helplessly. Yi Hua said faintly, do you know what the punishment is? I'm going to give you a kiss. Qingya pouted her mouth. I want to act cool in public again. It's good that you know. Then let me ask you the first question. What should I wear for the class reunion? Qingya laughed lightly, class reunion. I'm not going at all. Dong Huang Baiji covered her mouth and laughed lightly. Regarding Yi Hua's problem, the two women had already discussed about it. Aunt Qing is the best. Dong Huangli knew that she had answered correctly, and thus, Dong Huangli kissed onto Qingya's face. You guessed correctly. Yi Hua was unhappy. Can't I just enjoy the envious gaze of others? Me and, before Yi Hua could finish speaking, Qingya said, I only have you in my heart. Dong Huangli's face became red, and she buried her head into Qingya's bosom. Yi Hua let out a sigh. Seems like I have to think of another method. However, just as Yi Hua was feeling disappointed, Qingya still tiptoed and gave Yi Hua a kiss. Soon after, Qingya picked up her luggage and said, All right, you two can go back now. Looking at their backs that were leaving, Yi Hua touched his cheek. Qingya is really becoming more and more mischievous. Yi Hua took a glance at his surroundings. Humans, go and exclaim in admiration at my luck with women. There's nothing that you won't be able to enjoy in your entire life. After finished speaking, Yi Hua hugged onto Dong Huang Baiji who was beside him. Who dares to act cool in front of me? Dong Huang Baiji was helpless. My syndrome of acting cool after smoking is getting serious. Even when I don't smoke, I still have to do it. Baiji, let's go back and make a baby. Yi Hua was a bit excited. I have to warm up my body first when I go back, in case I break my waist. Dong Huang Baiji sat on the driver's seat and said coquettishly, You should rest for a few days first, don't break your waist. Right now, I am full of vigor, I can even fight for 3 days and 3 nights. Alright, let's enjoy our world together. A layer of redness appeared on Donghuang Baiji's face. This is a rare opportunity for me to enjoy our world together. Indescribably, Donghuang Baiji started feeling nervous. Yihua, who was sitting on the co-pilot seat, said faintly, "Baiji, don't be like last time, fainting in just a few hours." Yihua. Donghuang Baiji pouted coquettishly. "That was something that happened 3 years ago, and you still dare to mention it." Yihua turned his head and looked towards Donghuang Baiji. "Baiji, I like how you looked that night, you were very beautiful." "Stop messing around, I'm driving." Donghuang Baiji bit onto her lips. This fellow sent everyone away so that he could make a move on me, what a scheming man. Ha! Yihua expressed that he was very happy. I am about to enjoy Donghuang Baiji's mature body soon. Just thinking about it makes me a bit excited. On the other side, this was the first time Donghuang Li sat on a big plane, and she was very excited. Because they were in a rush, they didn't buy any business class tickets and only bought ordinary tickets. However, since the 3 of them were sitting in a row, Donghuang Li definitely had to sit by the window to look at the white clouds. "Ollie, fasten your seatbelt," Qingye instructed. Donghuang Li hurriedly fastened her seatbelt, then asked curiously, "Aunt Qing, Daddy and Mommy are giving birth at home, you won't be angry, right?" Qingye went into a daze, then stroked onto Donghuang Li's face. "If I am going to be angry, I would have long exploded from anger. Now that things have come to this, there's nothing to be angry about. Furthermore, Donghuang Baiji is also not bad, I can accept it, but she is the only one. If it was in the past, I would, but now, I won't," Qingye said with a gentle smile. Donghuang Li nodded her head. She had a look of, "I am a little adult, I understand everything, you don't need to explain anything to me." Qing Yutong pouted her mouth. Big sister really changed. Or rather, love has changed both brother-in-law and big sister. "Master, the battle to push down brother-in-law has already been delayed for so long, when are we going to continue?" Qing Yutong's system asked. Qing Yutong replied while listening to the song, "Let's talk about this matter in the future, I want to sleep now. In the past, I did indeed have the intention to push down brother-in-law, but after seeing how noisy they were, I didn't want to push down brother-in-law anymore. What's more, with such a strong backing like brother-in-law, what's the difference between pushing down brother-in-law or not pushing down brother-in-law? If I were to be bullied, wouldn't brother-in-law have to seek justice for me? Sister-in-law is a pretty good position." "Aunt Qing!" Donghuang Li shouted out. Qingye and Qing Yutong both looked over. Donghuang Li pursed her lips. "Sometimes, when the 2 of us are together, if the 2 of us were to call each other Aunt Qing, the 2 of us would turn around to look at each other. Aunt Qing, Li feels that I have to change the way I address you." Qingye smiled sweetly, "Alright, then what should Ollie call Aunt Qing?" Mommy Qing," Qing Yutong laughed, and Qingye poked her little sister petulantly. Looking at Ollie's expectant gaze, Qingye spread out her hands, "Alright, but Ollie cannot call me that in front of Mommy Qing's family." Chapter 308. Later on, if Donghuang Li were to directly call me mother, my mother would probably go into a daze. The gray plane safely landed at Zijin City's international airport. Qingye was carrying on to Donghuang Li, who had already fallen asleep, while Qing Yutong was in charge of pushing the luggage. He hailed a taxi and went straight home. I reckon that even the parents didn't know that their 2 daughters would come back so quickly, and Qingye and Qing Yutong were evidently going to give the parents a surprise. It was already 7:00 in the evening when he arrived home. It just so happened that it was dinner time. Qingye was still hugging on to Donghuang Li, who was sleeping soundly, and Qing Yutong was secretly removing her makeup to prevent her parents from chattering endlessly. Ding dong. Ding dong, it was Uncle Fu who opened the door. Ladies, you. Sorry, I was too excited. You guys are finally back. Uncle Fu was also very excited. This was the first time he had seen the two young ladies come back at the same time. This kind of situation was something he had seen in school. Uncle Fu. Uncle Fu. Qingye and Qing Yutong greeted enthusiastically. Two misses, quickly come in, the master and the madams are currently eating dinner. Uncle Fu took over the luggage from Qing Yutong's hands, and Qingye and Qing Yutong walked into the house. Dong Huangli was still sleeping soundly. It was normal for children to love sleeping. The two sisters walked to the dining room and saw that the whole family was there. Seeing that his daughter and granddaughter had returned, everyone was surprised. Zi Han and Wang Muqing were overjoyed. They had just made a phone call at noon, and they came back at night. They were really much more sensible than before. As the father, Qing Huashuan's gaze was filled with joy, but he still kept a straight face, seemingly unable to let go of his face. Old man Qing Qingren revealed out a kind smile, and old lady Mei Xuanshuang looked at her two granddaughters confusedly. Her dementia is getting more and more serious. Right now, she seems to be unable to recognize Qingye and Qing Yutong. However, this time, when Qingye came back, she had the ability to cure her grandmother's dementia. Yeah, Yutong, the two of you haven't eaten yet, right? Quickly sit down and eat, Mom will scoop some rice for you. Zi Han cried tears of joy. Last time, they parted on bad terms. After such a long time, her daughter had finally returned. But who was the child his daughter was carrying? Qingye, the child in your bosom is? Qing Qingren asked. Qingye said tenderly, this is my friend's child, I will take care of him for a few days, it can be considered as a warm-up. When Qingye said warm-up, everyone immediately knew that there was another one in Qingye's stomach. Qing Yutong silently praised her big sister for being awesome. After her bloodline awakened, even her temperament has changed. Qing Qingren seemed to have gotten over it and said gravely, Qingye, this is someone else's child, you have to properly look after him, don't let anything happen to him. Grandpa, I know. Zi Han hurriedly picked up some food for her daughter, don't talk anymore, Qingye, you eat more. Mom, you should eat more too. Dong Huangli suddenly let out a sweet melody. She rubbed her big hazy eyes and asked, Mommy Qing, where are we? Mom. Everyone was puzzled, and Qing Yutong felt that little Ali was here to trick her big sister. Ali, we're home. Dong Huangli went into a daze, Aunt Qing, we've arrived. Just now, Ali even dreamed of Mommy. This little Ali sure is smart. Dong Huangli could be seen taking a look at everyone, then standing upright at the side, she shouted out, Grandpa, Grandma, Uncle, Aunt, hello everyone, my name is Dong Huangli, it's our first time meeting, please take care of me. Right now, Ali doesn't have any income, so I don't have any money to buy gifts. Therefore, please don't blame Ali. When Ali becomes rich in the future, I will definitely not come empty-handed. Dong Huangli felt that she didn't lose face for her daddy. Since daddy didn't come, I am naturally daddy's representative. Everyone went into a daze. This little doll is so polite. If we were to let them know that she is Yi Hua's daughter, they definitely wouldn't believe it. The father has the appearance of the world's number one, and yet, his daughter is so outstanding. Qingye, whose child is this? Why is she so obedient? Wang Muqing was very fond of Dong Huangli. Wang Muqing walked over and carried Dong Huangli up. This little fellow is truly too likable. Qingye said tenderly, she is the child of a good friend. Dong Huangli loved to listen to adults praising her. Ali promised Mommy that I will take good care of Aunt Qing. Dong Huangli began showing off her maturity again. Qingye and Qing Yutong laughed tenderly. Zihan also walked over and said with a smile, "Ali sure is sensible." Qing Huaxian said faintly, "All right, everyone, sit down and eat, the dishes are already cold." On the dining table, Dong Huangli placed all kinds of dishes on the adults' plates, causing everyone to be extremely happy. Even Qing Huaxian revealed out a rare smile. This little girl sure is sensible. Seeing that everyone was more or less happy, Dong Huangli said to Qingye in a low voice, "Mommy Qing, you can be at ease, Ali will protect you." "This is the mission that Daddy gave Ali." Qingye smiled very sweetly and said in a low voice, "I knew that Ali is the best. That is for sure." Qing Huaxian placed down his chopsticks and said faintly, "Qingye, Yutong, after coming back, don't go back to the south, that place is very chaotic right now." Zihan also followed up and said, "That's right, I heard that a lot of people died there. Dad, Mom, big sister and I plan to rest for a week before going back. After all, there is still a lot of work to do there." Qing Yutong naturally had to speak up for big sister. "If we don't go back, how could brother-in-law possibly bring me along to act cool? In actuality, what I am worried about the most is that brother-in-law would come over to snatch Qingye away." "Who is this child? Did you give birth to a child?" Mei Xuanshuang suddenly cried out in surprise, giving everyone a fright. Seeing that his wife's condition was getting serious, Qing Qingren's gaze revealed out a look of pity. "Did grandma's condition worsen again?" Qingye asked gravely, not knowing if she would be able to cure grandma's condition with her own ability. Qing Huaxian let out a breath, then said faintly, "Qingye, don't worry about grandma's condition, Grandpa has already invited Sage Doctor over to take a look at grandma's condition." "Sage Doctor?" Qingye and Qing Yutong called out in puzzlement. Qing Qingren said with a smile, "Qingye, Yutong, the two of you might not know yet, but in the north, there is a sage doctor. His whereabouts are very mysterious, and his medical skills are even more so like that of a god. It is very hard to invite him over even if you have money. This time, Sage Doctor coming over to take a look is also our Qing family's fortune." Qing Yutong placed down the chicken drumstick in her hand and asked curiously, "Grandpa, how did you manage to invite such an awesome person over? Didn't Grandpa contact an old comrade in arms in the past and finally manage to find out about the whereabouts of Sage Doctor?" Qingye was a bit worried. Could it be that Sage Doctor is a swindler? "Grandpa, what is this Sage Doctor called?" "Song Huang." Qingye and Qing Yutong didn't know Song Huang. However, back then, Dong Huangli almost killed Song Huang. Back then, when Sun Yi and the others went to snatch Xiao Yi's Xianyuan sword, Song Huang was also present at that time. And at that time, Dong Huangli was fiercely shaking Daddy's hand, causing Xianyuan's sword to fly all over the place, and everyone took the opportunity to escape. Chapter 309. At this time, Qing Qingren's phone suddenly rang. It was a call from his old comrade. "Ah. Are you saying that Sage Doctor is coming tonight?" Qing Qingren cried out in surprise. "Ha, all right, I got it, thank you." Qing Qingren hurriedly expressed his thanks, then put down the phone. His wife's illness could be cured. Qingye decided to take a look first. If he is a swindler, I will chase him away and try it myself. Everyone, quickly eat your meal and prepare to welcome Sage Doctor. Qing Huaxian said hurriedly. Suddenly, Qingye thought of Dong Huang Baiji. Her voidless realm is a big power in the north. Wouldn't a small Sage Doctor have to obediently listen to her? However, what Qing Yutong was thinking was different. My brother-in-law is a supreme overlord, what can a mere Sage Doctor amount to? Even if brother-in-law sneezes, he would be able to exterminate that Sage Doctor. Dong Huang Li's way of thinking was very simple. Daddy is the most formidable man in the world, there is no one else who can compare to him. After the meal, everyone cleaned up a little and waited quietly for the arrival of Saint Doctor. Zihan was whispering to her daughter. From time to time, she would look at her daughter's belly. She was reluctant to part with it, but she also wanted to abort it. Do you still remember our neighbor who lived in Long and City in the past? Zihan asked probingly. Chinya recalled for a bit, then nodded her head. I still have some impression of this place, just that, it suddenly disappeared afterwards. I am a bit disappointed. However, those were all just the budding desires of a young girl. Thinking about it now, it was just a fleeting moment, because her heart was now filled with Yihua. Xiaoqin came over today, and right now, he looks very handsome. Zihan began praising Qin Xuanzong. Little did she know that her daughter's heart had long since been locked up by Yihua. Qinya went into a daze. Qin Xuanzong came. Dong Huangli, who was in Dong Huangli's bosom, felt that something was wrong. This Qin Xuanzong is definitely a man. Even Qing Yutong, who was at the side, also heard her big sister's cry of surprise. Something big had happened. This Qin Xuanzong was an incredible figure. Back then, it wasn't Qin Xuanzong who had a crush on Big Sister. Instead, it was Big Sister who had a crush on Qin Xuanzong. It was just that Qin Xuanzong had disappeared in the end. On that day, Big Sister was even prepared to send him a love letter. He never expected that Qin Xuanzong, who had disappeared for so long, would reappear. Brother-in-law, you have to be careful this time, the enemy is very strong. I'm going to the toilet. Qing Yutong muttered. Qinya still didn't know what her little sister wanted to do and hurriedly shouted out, Yutong, what are you doing? I'm going to the toilet. After saying that, he went to snitch, instantly betraying his sister. Qinya was helpless. Those are all things that happened when I was still in school, and they can't be counted anymore. Besides, didn't I not hand over the love letter back then? Didn't I still give all of my first time to Yihua? However, according to this jealous king's personality, he will definitely strike first to gain the upper hand. Although it was a matter of the past, at the very least, Yihua was still his childhood playmate. I mustn't let Yihua act recklessly. Leisure bar in Longtan City, in the bedroom on the second floor. No matter what, Donghuang Baiji wouldn't be able to escape tonight. Right now, Donghuang Baiji was tightly pressed onto Yihua's body, and Yihua was enjoying Donghuang Baiji's body. Meanwhile, Donghuang Baiji was letting out an intoxicated moan. Tonight, the same thing that happened 3 years ago is going to happen again. Kissing Donghuang Baiji's cherry lips, Donghuang Baiji caressed every single inch of Donghuang Baiji's skin. As expected of my woman. Ring ring ring. His phone rang. He hung up. Ring, ring, ring. It rang again. Yihua, answer the phone first. Donghuang Baiji's face was red. Knowing that she wouldn't be able to escape tonight, Donghuang Baiji allowed Yihua to bully her. Yihua stood up snappily, and saw that it was his sister-in-law who called him. What a good timing. After answering the phone, Yihua said gravely, Yutong, if you don't give me a proper explanation, you will be in for a good time when you come back. Qin Yutong, who was sitting on the toilet, hurriedly said, Brother-in-law, something big happened. Something big happened again. Why do you all like to describe things like this? No matter how big the matter is, in my eyes, it is just a small matter. What matter? Yihua asked gravely. Brother-in-law, your love rival has appeared. Love rival? Yihua's brows wrinkled. This term is very fresh. I only have enemies, how can I have a love rival? Qin Yutong told Yihua about the relationship between this love rival of hers, and Yihua's brows wrinkled more and more. This man is actually Qinya's crush when she was young. Damn it, Chinya has been mine since she was young, which man dares to touch her? Should I go and kill that guy right now? Chen Xuanzongs. I have to let him know, don't even think about my woman. Brother-in-law, calm down, don't get agitated. Qin Yutong hurriedly persuaded. What's the matter? Yihua's tone was a bit irritable. If that guy likes Chinya, it would be fine, but since that guy is someone that Chinya likes, then I definitely have to kill him. Qin Yutong said attentively, brother-in-law, big sister knows that I am secretly informing you right now. If you kill that guy, it is a small matter if you die, but I'm afraid that big sister will mistakenly think that you are killing people randomly. Yihua felt that what Qin Yutong said was a bit reasonable. This Chinya has been very arrogant recently. Killing that guy is easy, but the main point is that Chinya would quarrel with me again. No. I am currently in the upper hand. If I were to kill that guy, wouldn't I be in a disadvantageous position again? Brother-in-law, this is actually a very small matter. Isn't big sister's heart currently filled with you, brother-in-law? If you were to kill that guy, wouldn't it ruin brother-in-law's image? Furthermore, aren't there me and Ollie watching over you? Qin Yutong was very naughty right now, she just wanted to see her brother-in-law act cool. If I were to kill that guy in an instant, who would brother-in-law look for to act cool to? At that time, big sister would even say that brother-in-law killed the innocent. Yutong, your analysis is not bad. My image is more important. Properly watch over your big sister. If there is any abnormal movement, immediately report it to me. Yes, I guarantee that I will complete the mission. The two of them were just like the liaison between spies. After placing down his phone, Yihua lost all interest in touching the Empress. Donghuang Baiji hugged onto Yihua from behind and asked tenderly, did something happen? Sigh, Qingya's secret love has appeared. Yihua was very depressed. On one hand, I want to secretly kill that guy, but on the other hand, I have to take care of my image. I am not a person who would willfully kill the innocent. What I said is a bit fake, I am just sighing. Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly, there is nothing to be afraid of, I still understand Qinya, the only person in her heart is you. That's for sure, if not, I would have killed my way over right now. Alright, don't be angry, Qinya will be able to handle this kind of matter by herself. While lying on the bed, Yihua hugged onto the Empress and asked curiously, I have to ask you first, do you have a secret love? I do. Donghuang Baiji said gravely. Yihua was very unhappy. Why do two women have a secret love, who? Who else can it be, isn't it you? Donghuang Baiji hammered onto Yihua's chest with her small fists. You abandoned me for 3 years, and every night, I dream of killing you. Donghuang Baiji said petulantly. Chapter 310. I know that it has been hard on you. While caressing onto Donghuang Baiji's body, Yihua consoled. Donghuang Baiji smiled tenderly, go and sleep, we still have to wake up early tomorrow morning to send Zizi to register. Yes. Tonight, Yihua didn't have the mood to do anything to the Empress. Not only tonight, even if Qinya didn't return, Yihua wouldn't have the mood to do anything to the Empress. On the other side, Qin Yutong walked out from the bathroom, and immediately, she was glared at by Qinya. Qin Yutong made a funny face. Mom, I'm going to the bathroom. Qinya said tenderly. I have to explain this matter to Yihua, if not, with the jealous king's personality, he would definitely be preparing to stir up trouble right now. Zihan was very puzzled. What was going on with these two? After closing the door, Qinya gave Yihua a call, but who knew that Yihua's phone would be turned off? Is he angry? Or was he sleeping? Before Yihua sleeps, he likes to switch off his phone to prevent others from disturbing him. Left with no other choice, Qingye could only send a message over. The message was very simple and also very straightforward. "Hubby, I love you." Heaving a sigh of relief, he washed his hands and looked at himself in the mirror. Qingye let out a light sigh. She is becoming more and more beautiful, this is truly troublesome. After walking out of the bathroom, Qingye carried Dong Huangli, then rolled her eyes at her little sister. "Traitor." Qing Yutong expressed that she was doing this for your own good, and wanted to give brother-in-law a heads up first. Don't let brother-in-law bump into this at that time. If that happens, then the world would really fall apart. Ding dong, ding dong. When the doorbell rang, it affected the hearts of the entire Qing family. Of course, other than Qingye and his sister, there was also little Ollie. The butler, Uncle Fu, was preparing to open the door, and Qing Yutong hurriedly shouted out, "Uncle Fu, I'll go open the door." Qing Yutong wanted to see just how awesome this sage doctor was, to actually be unable to invite him over in all kinds of ways. This sage doctor was truly too good at acting. He walked to the door and opened it. There was a handsome man standing outside the door. He was wearing a white shirt and jeans. He was clean and had a faint smile on his face. Shouldn't he be arrogant? This can't be a fake saint doctor, right? Is this the Qing family? Song Huang asked in a light voice. Qing Yutong asked curiously, "You are the sage doctor, right?" "I don't deserve to be called a holy doctor. I can only treat difficult and complicated diseases," Song Huang said modestly. This girl in front of him was very special. She was also very beautiful. Song Huang had seen quite a lot of beautiful girls in his life, but it was rare to see a girl like this. Originally, Qing Yutong wanted to kill off the other party's imposing manner, but she didn't expect that this sage doctor would be so low profile. "Please come over, remember to change your shoes," Qing Yutong said. This caused Song Huang to go into a daze for a moment. A girl with quite a personality. Qing Qingren and Qing Huaxian walked over, and when they heard that their daughter actually told Sage Doctor to change his shoes, they immediately became speechless. "Yu Tong. What are you talking about? Hurry up and pour some tea." "Holy doctor, my daughter doesn't know any better, she doesn't need to change her shoes," Qing Huaxian said hurriedly. "This sage doctor is not someone that we can afford to offend. In the north, how many families have to give face to him, let alone a small Qing family?" Song Huang smiled, "It's all right. Men were like this. It didn't matter if they met a beautiful woman, but if they met someone they didn't like, then there would be a problem." Everyone laughed dryly. They didn't expect this saint doctor to be so amiable and approachable. "Qing family chief, where is he?" Song Huang changed into slippers and asked curiously. "Sage doctor, please follow me." Qing Qingren brought Song Huang to the bedroom on the second floor. When Song Huang passed by the living room, he saw Qingye and Dong Huangli. "I didn't expect that this Qing family would actually have two such beautiful daughters. However, this Qingye seems to be pregnant." Everyone followed him upstairs. At this time, Mei Xuanshuang was watching SpongeBob SquarePants, clapping and laughing from time to time. Qing Qingren said worriedly, "Sage doctor, do you think my husband's illness can still be cured?" Song Huang walked forward and observed the situation for a while, then said, "Clan leader Qing, don't worry, I can cure him." Everyone heaved a sigh of relief, and at this moment, Qing Yutong also came over with a cup of tea, then said casually, "Here, have some tea." "Yutong. Be a bit more polite," Qing Huaxian shouted out in a low voice. "The other party is an outstanding and famous sage doctor, it would be bad if they offended Sage Doctor." Song Huang took the cup of boiling water and smiled, "It's all right." After drinking a mouthful of boiling water, Song Huang smiled and said, "Miss Qing is really considerate of this song." I'm afraid that the temperature of the water is more than 100 degrees Celsius. I have never seen someone who can act cool like this, and Qing Yutong can be said to be convinced. Yutong, get out! Qing Huaxian shouted out. This is too unruly. Don't you know what time it is? Song Huang placed down the cup of tea, then said with a light smile, Everyone, please go out for a while, I need a quiet environment. Qin Qingren nodded his head, then everyone left the bedroom and waited outside. Big sister, I have tested him, this sage doctor does have some ability. Qing Yutong said in a low voice. Qingya smiled bitterly and shook her head, you. However, now that you have brother-in-law backing you up, you are indeed able to do whatever you want. Qing Yutong smiled with her eyes squinted, isn't that all because big sister has good eyesight? If not, how would I, your little sister, be able to do whatever I want? Then, can Ollie also do whatever she wants? Dong Huangli asked naively. Qingya naturally wouldn't be like Yi Hua who taught a child recklessly. Of course Ollie can't, he has to listen to adults. What Aunt Qing did just now was wrong, Ollie cannot learn from her. Qingya said in a low voice. Dong Huangli nodded her head, then said casually, Aunt Qing, actually, the effect of the water that you poured out from the toilet bowl just now should be better. Qingya, Qing Yutong, Ollie, who did you learn this from? You can't play tricks on people like this. Qingya criticized Ollie harshly. Since a child was young, she had to be taught the correct way of thinking. Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth, Ollie learned it from watching TikTok. The two sisters took a look at each other. This TikTok is truly harmful. Ollie, in the future, you cannot casually learn things that you are not good at. If not, your daddy will spank your butt. Qingya scared Dong Huangli a bit. And Ollie won't learn it anymore. This is what a good child should be. Just as the two of them were chatting, the bedroom door was pushed open, and with a relaxed smile on his face, Song Huang could be seen walking out of the bedroom. It's done. For a sage doctor like Song Huang, treating a person with dementia was very easy. Even the current Qingya was able to do it. Qing Qingren and Qing Huaxian hurriedly thanked Song Huang, then walked into the bedroom to check on the situation. No matter what, this sage doctor cured their grandma's illness. Qingya and Qing Yutong had to thank Song Huang. You're welcome, this is also the duty of a doctor. This Song Huang didn't even blink his eyes when he lied. From the looks of it, Song Huang is already interested in Qing Yutong. There's no helping it, who asked Qing Yutong to be so beautiful? If Song Huang didn't have any feelings for her, that would be a lie. Qingya seemed to have also sensed that this sage doctor had been looking at her little sister. Qing Yutong seemed to have also sensed that sage doctor was looking at her little sister. Qing Yutong seemed to have sensed that sage doctor was looking at her little sister. Chapter 311. Sage Doctor, it has been hard on you. Go downstairs and eat some desserts. Qing Huaxian walked out of the bedroom and said respectfully. Qing Qingren didn't come out, and was accompanying his wife in the room. On the other hand, Song Huang seemed to be quite courteous, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face as he said, Then, I will have to trouble you, clan leader Qing. If this was in the past, would Song Huang be so polite? That nose had already ascended to the heavens. Qing Huaxian looked at sage doctor's gaze, then looked at his own daughter, Yutong, and joy appeared in his heart. Wang Muqing, who was at the back, seemed to have noticed something. Could it be that this saint doctor had taken a fancy to her daughter? That was great news. This sage doctor was a famous person in the north, and there were countless people waiting for him to save their lives. If he married Yutong, that would be incredible. Zihan was a little envious. Her daughter was determined to follow one of them. A woman who owned a bar and gave birth to his child. Just thinking about this gave him a headache. Yutong, go and get some pastries. Wang Muqing hurriedly asked her daughter to prepare the food. She thought to herself, you have to perform well. If you are chosen by the sage doctor, you will become a phoenix. But then again, when the two sisters came back today, they seemed to be much more beautiful. It was really strange. Did they team up and go for plastic surgery? Qin Yutong still didn't know what her mother was thinking, and she helplessly answered, then walked downstairs. The group of people sat on the sofa in the living room. Qin Yo was still hugging on to Dong Huangli, and Dong Huangli was currently playing with Su Fuji's lollipop. Dong Huangli's lollipop was even stuffed with the lollipop, then curiously observed Dong Huangli, Miss Yutong hasn't gotten married yet, right? Song Huang asked curiously. Everyone was shocked. As expected of a saint doctor, he was a little too direct. Qin Yo was also startled by Song Huang's straightforwardness. However, Qin Yo was feeling a bit displeased in her heart. After all, there was something wrong with Song Huang's attitude. It was as if Song Huang was telling Qin Yo that if Qin Yo wasn't married to Qin Yo, she would marry Qin Yo to Qin Yo. If Yi Hua were to hear what Yi Hua just said, he would definitely give Yi Hua a big slap. Acting cool in front of me, are you tired of living? Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth. Aunt Qing is definitely not going to become your wife. You are a toad that wants to eat swan meat. Li's analogy was very appropriate. As Qin Yutong's mother, Wang Muqing said with a tender voice, up until now, my Yutong still hasn't even had a boyfriend, she is very pure. He and Yi Zizi worked together to wreak havoc in the Ying family, causing the two brothers to fall out with one another. Song Huang should be worried about me. I actually went to provoke Yi Hua's sister-in-law. Song Huang understood what Wang Muqing meant. So she has never touched a man before. Not bad. It's not easy to find such an innocent girl these days. I even saw Yutong's movie last year. It's really not bad. Song Huang had indeed seen Qin Yutong before, it was just that when he had just met Qin Yutong, he wasn't able to tell that the current Qin Yutong was much more beautiful than before, and Qin Yutong was on a completely different level compared to before. Just now, after careful observation, he recognized that it was that big star. Qin Huaxian said with a smile, my daughter is also going there to play around. Sage doctor, please don't laugh at me. Qing family head, don't say that. Yutong is a pretty good girl. Song Huang immediately praised. This made Wang Muqing very happy. This saint doctor is definitely not a problem. As long as my daughter is willing, Qing family will have a son-in-law who is a saint doctor. At this moment, Qin Yutong came over while carrying the dessert, and there was nothing abnormal on her face, and there was even a light smile on her face. If Yi Zizi was here, she would know that Qin Yutong wanted to do something bad. Originally, he was here to treat his illness, but now, it was more like a blind date. Yutong, peel an apple for sage doctor. Wang Muqing signaled her daughter with her eyes. Speak properly to sage doctor, in the future, Qing family will have to rely on you. Your sister has indeed fallen, there is no hope for her anymore. Qin Yutong snorted coldly in her heart. I have only helped brother-in-law peel crayfish before, and now, I don't even want to peel crayfish for other men anymore. Here, the taste will be better if you eat it with the skin on. Qin Yutong said with a gentle smile as she passed the apple to Song Huang. Song Huang did not say anything and took the apple with a smile. He even took a bite of the apple, not bad, the taste is indeed good. Damn it, even if Qin Yutong gave you a pile of shit, you would also say that the taste is not bad, right? Qin Huaxian and Wang Muqing glared at their daughter. Don't learn from your sister, this is a rare opportunity, you have to properly grasp it. Qin Ye smiled and did not say anything. My younger sister is starting to cause trouble again. What were you two talking about just now? Qin Yutong took the initiative to strike up a conversation, appearing to be very cheerful and very straightforward. This was what attracted Song Huang's attention. Wang Muqing said with a gentle voice, "We were talking about how you are already so big, yet you still haven't found a boyfriend." Sigh, my expectations are too high. Qin Yutong sighed, as if there isn't a single man in this world that is worthy of me. Brother-in-law is too handsome, and he is too good at acting cool. Song Huang asked curiously, I wonder how high Yutong's expectations are. Is he very familiar with you? And he even called me Yutong Yutong. Song Huang's parents immediately looked towards Qin Yutong. That gaze of theirs seemed to be telling Qin Yutong not to act recklessly. I know. Dong Huangli, who was sitting on Qin Ye's lap, suddenly raised her hand and shouted out. Looking at the child who was in Qin Ye's lap, Song Huang felt that the child was very cute. Little friend, why don't you tell us about it then? Originally, Qing Huaxian wanted to stop Qin Yutong. After all, if a child knew something, they would always talk about it. However, since Sage Doctor had already spoken, it would be embarrassing for Qin Yutong to stop Qin Yutong. Dong Huangli blinked her big eyes and said, Aunt Qing likes to play games. Those who are good at playing games can bring her to a chicken dinner. Pfft, Qin Ye couldn't help but laugh. Qin Yutong laughed too. However, the other people's expressions were a bit stiff. Playing games. Those who are seated here are all people who are capable of doing big things, who would go and play games. Ali knows me the best, Qin Yutong said with a smile, then even blew a kiss to Ali. Dong Huangli was not to be outdone and blew a kiss to Ali as well. Song Huang laughed lightly. A celebrity actually likes to play games. This is a bit interesting. In actuality, what Qin Yutong said just now might not be effective, but after saying it like that, Song Huang felt that Qin Yutong was even more extraordinary. Wang Muqing suggested, I heard that there are a few good movies being released recently. You all can go and watch them. I might as well play games. Qin Yutong pouted her mouth. Only by watching a movie with brother-in-law will it be interesting. Not only will I be able to watch a movie, I will also be able to watch them quarrel, and then my big sister will instantly become terrified. Song Huang was also not very interested and said, Tonight, there will be an annual auction at Yuan Linglong. It should be very interesting. It just so happens that I was invited, so I am preparing to go. Qin Ye and Qin Yutong had never heard of this Yuan Linglong before, but Qin Huaxian had heard of this Yuan Linglong before. This Yuan Linglong is incredible. It is said that it is a place opened by a super big figure, and even I am not qualified to enter it. The things that are being auctioned are all rare items, and the important thing is that I will be able to get to know a lot of big figures and expand my circle of friends. If my daughter doesn't want to go, I would like to go and take a look. In actuality, this Yuan Linglong was opened by the northern aristocratic family, Yi family. Back then, when they were fighting over the 9 demons punishing tower, Tang Wushuang even called Yi Xiao over to help them, but unfortunately, Yi Xiao left in the end. Chapter 312. Qin Yutong was a bit interested in this auction, and she asked towards Qin Ye, Big sister, are you going? Song Huang understood that Qin Yutong wanted to find someone to accompany her. Miss Qing, how about we go together? Song Huang invited with a smile on his face. Bringing a woman like Qin Ye by my side is also giving me face. Dong Huangli pulled onto Qin Ye's arm and said sweetly, Aunt Qing, Ollie wants to go and play. Originally, Qin Ye didn't want to go, because she promised Yi Hua that she wouldn't attend any banquets. Aunt Qing, Dong Huangli acted coquettishly. Zihan also persuaded, just go and experience the world. Qin Ye, Qin Yutong, experience the world. Qin Yutong followed brother-in-law to subduing family. That scene, that was the world. All of Ying family's people kneeled on the ground respectfully, not daring to be disrespectful towards brother-in-law. If anyone dared to cause trouble, they would turn into a pool of blood. That day, brother-in-law was simply too handsome. Meanwhile, Chinya couldn't help but think back to the battle at Voidless Realm that day. That scene should be the world, right? After all, that was a battle between two big powers, and that scene was just a cheap trick played by the underlings of the big powers. Using Yihua's words, when a group of salted fishes were gathered together, they would compete to see who was saltier. Of course, you can also go and see how a group of salted fishes compete to see who was saltier. That kind of scene should be very funny. Unable to withstand Dong Huang Li's acting coquettishly, Chinya said dotingly, All right, I'll bring you to play. That's great. After speaking, Dong Huang Li kissed towards Chinya. Qin Yutong smiled. Li, you're not good enough. Dong Huang Li jumped down from Chinya's embrace, then jumped into Qin Yutong's embrace and kissed her. Song Huang didn't feel disgusted. After all, she's just a child. It's getting late, let's set off. Song Huang stood up and said. Tonight's Yuan Linglong auction could be considered as a small gathering for the northern powers. It would be good for me to bring them to experience the world, and it would also allow me to display my abilities. Qing Huaxian instructed his two daughters in a low voice, You two perform well, don't lose Qing family's face. Especially you, Yutong, take good care of Sage Doctor. The sisters sighed softly. We're just there to kill time. We really don't think that they're that powerful. After that, Wang Muqing also came over to remind her daughter to behave well in front of Saint Doctor and not to throw a tantrum. After everyone left, Zi Han secretly gave Chen Xuanzong a call. Coincidentally, Chen Xuanzong was already in Yuan Linglong. Two men were kneeling in front of him. Aunt Zi, I understand. Thank you. After hanging up the phone, a trace of a smile appeared on Chen Xuanzong's face. Because he was about to meet Chinya soon, he was a bit excited and also a bit nervous. However, when he saw the two people in front of him, his smile gradually sank, and his black eyes once again revealed a murderous aura. I'll ask you one last time. Who sent you to destroy my Chen family? After searching for a long time these days, most of the assassins from back then were dead. Only these two changed professions, and they were even big bosses now, living very freely. We really don't know. Yes, we are very sorry about what happened back then. Chen Xuanzong's killing intent surged as he grabbed out with his palm. One of the men's expression changed. He felt as if his neck was being strangled, and a sense of suffocation surged up. He couldn't help but grab his neck and roll on the ground. Gradually, the man stopped struggling. His eyes were filled with fear. The man kneeling on the side was a little scared. His forehead was covered in sweat. He hadn't killed anyone in many years, so he was not used to seeing such a scene. Speak, and I'll spare your life. Chen Xuanzong questioned coldly. The man gasped for air and asked, Are you really going to let me go? That's right. The man steeled his heart and said, It's the Shao family's Shao Yi. Chen Xuanzong frowned. He picked up the wine glass and shook it lightly. The Shao family is in the north. Why should my small Chen family be exterminated? I don't know either. I heard that it's for the ancient godly item. As for the rest, I really don't know. Chen Xuanzong raised his head and drank the red wine in his cup. He clenched his fists tightly. The man's eyes were wide open, and blood flowed out of his eyes. Then, blood flowed out of his 7 apertures. You lied to me, do I, Chen Xuanzong, still need to explain to you when I kill someone? You. Looking at the man in front of him fall, the hostility in Chen Xuanzong's heart didn't lessen, instead, it became even stronger. North's Shao family, Shao Yi. Ancient godly item. From the looks of it, back then, my parents knew something that they shouldn't have known, which was why they were killed by Shao Yi. Shao Yi, you killed my entire family. Even so, I will still kill your entire family. Demon Emperor vs Immortal Emperor. This would be a good show that Yi Hua would like to watch. On the other side, Qin Ye and Qin Yutong had already arrived at Yuan Linglong. A clubhouse like this would usually be located in the outskirts. It was clean, and the air was good. Of course, what was even more convenient was that the clubhouse would be able to bury people after killing someone. However, there had never been a murder case in this place. After all, this was the territory of the North Sea family. The family heads wouldn't dare to cause trouble, and the other four great families would also give face to them. Of course, there was no need for Voidless Realm to give face to them. Yuan Linglong was located at the center of the lake. This was a man-made lake. Of course, there was also a small island at the center of the lake. The entire building was about the size of a football field. The entire building wasn't tall, and it only had one floor. The roof frame was made from top-notch mahogany. The pillars were slightly inclined outwards, and the four corners were tall, forming an overhanging eave. The roof was decorated with yellow and green glazed tiles. Looking at the building from afar, it looked very majestic. There was a long stone bridge that was connected to the shore. On both sides of the bridge, there were stone railings and stone pillars, and on every pillar, there were stone lions with different postures engraved on it. Some of the stone lions were hugging each other, some of the stone lions were whispering into each other's ears, and there were all kinds of postures that were vivid and lifelike. Standing on top of the bridge and enjoying the gentle breeze that caressed one's face during summer like this was a very comfortable thing. Meanwhile, there were all kinds of luxurious cars parked at the shore, and it was more than enough to hold a car show. Everyone got off the car and walked onto the bridge, then entered Yuan Linglong. Qin Ye and Qin Yutong got off the car at the same time. Although the two of them weren't wearing any formal attire, their appearance immediately attracted the attention of the crowd. After all, with their appearance, no matter what they wore, they would still be beautiful. The two sisters sized up the place for a bit. This was no different from an ordinary gathering. Everyone was wearing gorgeous attire, and the women were competing with each other's beauty. There were even some men who were surrounded by 4 or 5 beautiful women. Looking at it this way, Qin Ye felt that Yi Hua had become much more well-behaved. I reckon that he is currently doing it with Bai Ji right now. This bastard can't wait for me to come out. When Song Huang appeared, sure enough, a commotion broke out among the crowd. Since Song Huang had the power to decide the life and death of a lot of people, even aristocratic families had to be polite to Song Huang. That is Sage Dr. Song Huang. It really is Sage Doctor. I didn't expect that he would also come today. Who are the two women besides Sage Dr. Song? I have never seen them before. Chapter 313. The surrounding people began to discuss spiritedly, guessing the relationship between the two of them. From the looks of it, Qin Yutong's change was indeed very big. No one was able to recognize that she was that big celebrity from back then. Song Huang walked over to Qin Yutong's side, then asked attentively, "Are you feeling all right?" Looking at the building in the middle of the lake, Qin Yutong spread out her hands. "It's not bad, right?" Song Huang laughed lightly. This Qin Yutong's appetite is a bit too much. Dong Huangli jumped down from Qin Ye's body, then bounced and ran towards the stone bridge. Qin Ye hurriedly ran towards Dong Huangli. "Li, don't run around." Dong Huangli hurriedly ran over. "I'm sorry, Aunt Qing. Li won't run around recklessly anymore." "Aunt Qing, don't run around recklessly too. Be careful of your little brother." "How did Li know it's the younger brother?" "Hee, Li can sense it." Dong Huangli rubbed onto Qin Ye's lower abdomen. This was the connection between their bloodlines. At this moment, a white Bentley drove over from afar. Some people knew who it was when they saw the license plate. I didn't expect Xiao Yi of the Xiao family to appear. Yeah, I heard that the Xiao family was almost finished. I heard about it too, but it seems to be fine now. When Xiao Yi and Shu Nan appeared in front of everyone, everyone was sure that the Xiao family was about to rise again. As long as Xiao Yi didn't die, he would have the strength to lead the Xiao family to the top. Xiao Yi and Shu Nan noticed Song Huang's figure, but they did not talk to each other. Back then, when Xiao Yi was injured, Shu Nan had sought help from Song Huang, but he was rejected. And so, a grudge was formed between them. In the end, Song Huang even came to snatch the Xianyuan sword away from Xiao Yi, and the relationship between Shu Nan and Song Huang had reached the freezing point. However, the two of them also noticed that Qingya was frowning slightly. Because when I see Qingya, I will think of that man. When they thought of that man, they would think of Black Robe and those tragic events. But until now, Xiao Yi still doesn't know if the person behind the scenes is Qingya's man or not. After all, the one who wants to collect the dead is the black gown, and above the black gown is that shadowy person. How could the two of them be that man's subordinates? But why would they help that man collect his debt? Brother Xiao, it's better to believe it. Shu Nan reminded softly. It had to be said that Shu Nan was smarter than Nangong Sini. So, a man's success depended on whether his wife was smart enough. His wife's suggestion might be the beginning of a meteoric rise. Of course, it might also be the beginning of a bottomless abyss. Nangong Sini's suggestion was destined to be the result, but Shu Nan's suggestion was more pertinent. Although there was a suspicion of flattery, it was all for her husband's future development. Xiao Yi nodded his head, then brought along his wife and walked towards Qingya. However, from everyone's point of view, it looked like this was heading towards Song Huang. Xiao Yi actually went to find Saint Doctor? What do you mean? The two of them seem to have a grudge. Is Xiao Yi planning to lower his head? It looks like Xiao Yi has been dealt a heavy blow and has let go of his previous arrogance. Someone finally taught the act tough king a lesson. Everyone's guess was indeed correct. Someone was the one who taught Wang Xiao how to be a new person. However, that person was indeed not Song Huang. Instead, that person was Death Mage. To be more precise, that person was Yi Hua, who no one knew at all. Most probably, after all of them were played to death, they still wouldn't know who the person was in the end. Song Huang stared at Xiao Yi who was walking towards him, and his expression gradually darkened. Did this Xiao Yi really dare to attack him in public? He wouldn't dare to do such a stupid thing. In actuality, Xiao Yi's strength was not weak. In fact, his strength had even reached the level of an aristocratic family's patriarch. Song Huang's strength was about the same as Xiao Yi's. However, in the end, Xiao Yi possessed the Xianyuan sword. The deterrence brought about by this primordial godly item was extraordinary. Even Song Huang had to weigh his options. Otherwise, he wouldn't have appeared at the very last moment on that day. He didn't want to fight head-on, as the gains would not make up for the losses. Of course, Qingya also noticed Xiao Yi. Ever since that day when they gambled, they hadn't seen each other. The scene that happened that night was still fresh in his memory. He had lost quite a bit of money, and in the end, Yi Hua actually got his money back. As for Qing Yutong, she met Xiao Yi once on that day when they were eating fish. At that time, she was disguised as Big Sister, so the current Xiao Yi didn't recognize Qing Yutong. As the two of them got closer and closer, everyone became a little nervous. This was because the two of them had different expressions on their faces, as if a great battle was about to break out. However, what happened next caused everyone to be extremely puzzled. Xiao Yi actually walked past Song Huang. He didn't say a word. Song Huang himself was also stunned. Just now, he had even prepared his speech, but he didn't expect that Xiao Yi would actually walk straight towards him. This damned Xiao Yi, he actually doesn't put me, sage doctor, in his eyes. F***K, this act Wang Xiao still likes to act cool as usual. That's right, look at sage doctor's expression, he looks as if he just ate a fly. As expected of Xiao family's family head, this act of acting cool is really good. I don't even give in to him, I only give in to him. However, what happened next caused everyone to be dumbstruck. Because Xiao Yi didn't act cool anymore, and instead, he lowered his status. Because he actually cupped his hands towards a peerlessly beautiful man, and that appearance of his was very respectful. Xiao Yi walked in front of Qingye, cupped his hands and said respectfully, CEO Qing, I trust that you have been well since we last met. CEO Qing, hello. Shu Nan, who was at the back, was also incomparably respectful. Qingye was very puzzled. I still remember that day when I met Xiao Yi while eating fish, he didn't have this kind of attitude. Although he was polite, he still had that arrogant attitude. And look at now, he completely lowered his status and came to greet me. This. Just what is going on? Qin Yutong was able to guess a bit, it is definitely because of brother-in-law. Brother-in-law is just too charming, even though he is currently sleeping, he still came over by air. 666, Dong Huangli held on to Qingye's hand and sized Xiao Yi up with her big eyes. Dong Huangli didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. Even if Xiao Yi directly kneeled down, Dong Huangli would also feel that it couldn't be any more normal. Mommy receives people's worship every day, and Mommy also listens to Daddy's words, which means that Daddy is definitely the biggest, and Mommy Qing is Mommy's best friend, thus, Mommy is worthy of being worshipped. CEO Xiao is being too polite. Qingye said tenderly, she didn't treat Xiao Yi coldly. After all, Qingye wasn't that kind of woman, she appeared to be amiable and approachable. However, if it was Dong Huang Baiji who was here, she wouldn't treat Xiao Yi like that. She who was used to being an empress, other than listening to Yihua, she would have a cold attitude towards everyone, other than the people around Yihua. Song Huang, who was at the side, tightly wrinkled his brows. How does this Qingye know Xiao Yi? And why is this Xiao Yi so respectful towards Qingye? Strange, this is too strange, could it be that this woman has another identity? That shouldn't be the case, although Qing family is rich, their family is still at the bottom of the family, and it shouldn't be possible for them to get acquainted with a person like Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi revealed out a polite smile and asked, CEO Qing's husband didn't come. When Xiao Yi said this sentence, everyone more or less knew what he meant. The reason why Xiao Yi did all of this was because of this woman's husband. If that is the case, who is this woman's husband? To actually be able to make Xiao Yi bow down. Chapter 314. What was certain was that this was an existence that was more pretentious than the act-tough King Xiao. Song Huang, who was at the side, was also very curious. This Qingye is pregnant, that means she definitely has a man. Originally, judging from the attitude of Qing family, they weren't satisfied with Qingye's pregnancy. However, judging from the current situation, Qing family still didn't know about the inside story. Yutong, who is your big sister's husband? Song Huang asked Qing Yutong in a low voice. Qing Yutong pursed her lips, then said faintly, my brother-in-law, that is a godlike man, if not, how could he have a woman like my big sister? Song Huang lightly laughed. The godlike man was probably just bragging, but he was definitely a very powerful man. Otherwise, Xiao Yi wouldn't act like this. Facts have proven that you should never underestimate your enemy's strength, because when you meet them, it will be too late for regrets. Then, why didn't your brother-in-law come today? Song Huang asked curiously. He really wanted to take a look at his brother-in-law. Dong Wangli pouted her mouth and said, "Uncle, my daddy is very busy." A child's words carry no harm. Everyone understood what he meant. Others wouldn't even bother coming to such a place. You all are mistaken. If Yihua knew that there were salted fishes competing in saltiness, he would definitely come over to watch the show. In fact, he would even call his subordinates over to watch the show. In the end, he would let them know why they are salted fishes. Qinya carried Dong Huangli into her embrace, then said with a slight smile, he has been rather busy recently. He silently thought to himself, he's busy giving birth to a child with the Empress, this pervert. Xiao Yi took a look at Song Huang, then said to Qinya, "CEO Qing, do you want to go in together with us?" Xiao Yi's attitude was one of respect, but in Song Huang's eyes, Xiao Yi's attitude was equivalent to Song Huang tearing down his own face. After all, Qinya and Qing Yutong were brought here by Song Huang himself. "Xiao Yi, this isn't a good idea, right?" Song Huang said in a deep voice. Since Xiao Yi was prepared to slap his own face, there was no need for him to save face. Xiao Yi slowly turned his head and coldly said, "I'm talking to CEO Qing, when is it your turn to interrupt?" The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became gloomy. Everyone held their breath. Would this year's auction be as dull as the previous years? There would probably be a good show to watch. The act tough king had started to lead the tempo. Moreover, he was quite angry. Xiao Yi was indeed very angry. It would have been fine if Song Huang hadn't said anything. But once Song Huang said something like that, he couldn't take it anymore. "You actually dared to come and snatch my sword that day. Do you really think that you have a good temper? This emperor has a belly full of anger right now." Qing Yutong felt that she did not come here for nothing today. A good show is about to begin. However, it is a pity that pitiful Zizi, he is locked up at home, and tomorrow, he still has to go and register to be a primary school student, and he missed out on such a good show. But don't worry, I'll take a picture and send it to her. Let her be envious of me, aha. The little wretch would definitely go crazy with jealousy. When Song Huang heard what Xiao Yi said, his face became terrifyingly gloomy. "Xiao Yi, you better watch your mouth. Song Huang, I advise you to not provoke me. Otherwise, I will teach you how to save yourself." Xiao Yi gradually released a stream of spiritual qi, and it pressed towards Song Huang. Song Huang couldn't help but furrow his brows when he felt the rich spiritual energy in Xiao Yi's body. Xiao Yi's strength had risen again. With the addition of the Xianyuan sword, he was indeed no match for them. Damn it. Alright, both of you, stop talking. Qinya said faintly while hugging on to Dong Huangli. This sentence that Qinya said softly was very tasteful, to the point that it was somewhat similar to Dong Huang Baiji's style. I reckon that after staying with Dong Huang Baiji for a long time during those few days, a bit of Empress aura had also been infused into Dong Huang Baiji's body. Furthermore, Dong Huang Baiji's bloodline had also awakened, and this sentence of Dong Huang Baiji's was simply like a huge pressure that made it hard for people to breathe. Everyone who was present felt that Dong Huang Baiji's words were very strange. This woman doesn't have any spiritual chi fluctuation, but the words that she spoke were filled with a sense of majesty, and the words that she spoke were unable to help but make people submit to her. This was the passive power of bloodline. Qing Yutong let out a deep sigh. Big sister is starting to act cool too. My God, when did it become my turn to act cool? This is so painful. In actuality, Yihua loved to see Qinya act cool the most. To be more precise, he loved to see his woman act cool the most. Seeing his woman act cool the most was a kind of visual and auditory enjoyment. Everyone went into a daze for a second, but very quickly, they came back to their senses. Xiao Yi naturally wouldn't say anything, and he didn't dare to say anything either. After listening to what his wife said, he would rather believe that it was true. However, Song Huang refused to accept this. I was actually frightened by a woman, and I have lost all of my face. In actuality, everyone felt that they had lost all of their face, because they were all shocked by what Qinya had said just now. However, when they thought about that mysterious man, they didn't dare to act recklessly. What if I step on a landmine? It must be said that the way of thinking of these people was very correct. If we were to really provoke Qinya today, we would have to wait for the Supreme Overlord's fury. The powers in the north would have to be completely wiped out. Suddenly, from afar, 3 Maybach formed a motorcade, and Xiao Yi's gaze became serious. Tang family's motorcade has arrived. That's right, I heard that Xiao Yi and Tang Wushuang have fallen out. Seems like a big fight is going to happen. Everyone discussed in low voices, and Xiao Yi was also listening to what they were saying. Even now, I can still feel the coldness of that knife that was stabbed in the back by my good brother in the past. However, no one would have guessed that Tang Wushuang's lamp had already been extinguished. Tang Wushuang could be seen coming down from the car. Tang Wushuang was wearing a black suit, and he appeared to be very calm. However, everyone discovered that today, Tang Wushuang actually had a beard. In the past, Tang Wushuang's beard would always be clean, and with a look, Tang Wushuang had indeed become a bit more manly. Tang Wushuang was only wearing a fake beard for the sake of concealing himself. Recently, he had been cultivating his master's cultivation technique, and his improvement was indeed very fast. However, the side effects were also very fast. His chest muscles had actually expanded, his hands had become slender, his waist had also become slender, his Adam's apple had also disappeared, and his face was also slowly changing. Recently, his vocal cords had also changed, and it was reckoned that not long later, his voice would become a female's voice. More importantly, the wound healed, and became, every day, Tang Wushuang would be scared awake by himself, and because of this, he didn't dare to sleep on the same bed as his wives. After getting off the car, Tang Wushuang didn't stop. Instead, he walked to the other side of the car and opened the car door. A man in flowery shorts and a white shirt appeared. He was looking at something on his phone with great interest. He was precisely Tang Wushuang's master, Gue Qingren. The people who were present were very unfamiliar with this man. However, from Tang Wushuang's actions, they could tell that he wasn't an ordinary person. "Master, we've arrived." Tang Wushuang tried his best to pressure his vocal cords, but he was still able to hear the strangeness in Gue Qingren's voice. Gue Qingren raised his head and took a look, then lowered his head back down to read his novel, as if only the words on the phone were able to attract his attention. Tang Wushuang looked around for a bit, and very quickly, he discovered Xiao Yi's figure. The vicious aura within his body unconsciously emitted out. "It is precisely because of this bastard that I became a woman. If I don't kill Xiao Yi in this life, I won't be able to vent the hatred in my heart." Gue Qingren looked at the phone and said faintly, "Wushuang, if you were to make a move here today, it would be very hard for you to clean up the mess." Chapter 315. Therefore, anyone who dared to fight here, unless they had great connections or were members of the other 4 great clans, was nothing to be afraid of. Right now, Qinya pulled her little sister over to her side. "I feel that this auction isn't that safe, and I have to be a bit more careful." Song Huang walked to the side of the 2 girls as though he was a flower protector. However, some people felt that this saint doctor was just trying to ride on their popularity. "Master, a disciple understands. A little impatience will spoil great plans," Gue Qingren said faintly. Because this line of words just happened to appear in the novel, he just casually said it. Yes. When everyone saw that Tang Wushuang was actually being so respectful, they became even more curious towards this mysterious man who was wearing floral shorts. Brother Xiao, don't act recklessly. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Shu Nan was also afraid that her husband would act recklessly, so she reminded him softly. Xiao Yi, of course, knew the pros and cons and patted Shu Nan's hand. However, looking at Tang Wushuang who was walking over slowly, Xiao Yi couldn't help but want to directly take out his Xianyuan sword and slash at Tang Wushuang. And when Tang Wushuang saw Xiao Yi, he couldn't wait to let Xiao Yi have a taste of himself, the taste of being a woman. This was life. Brothers of the past would turn against each other and even have to kill each other to eliminate the hatred in their hearts. When Tang Wushuang saw Qingye who was at the side, he went into a slight daze, then greeted, CEO Qing. Qingye nodded her head politely. The scene immediately went into an uproar. This Tang Wushuang didn't pay attention to anyone, and he just had to greet that beauty. Xiao Yi was like that, and this Tang Wushuang was also like that. What exactly is going on? Gue Qingren didn't greet them and didn't even look at the two women. Regarding power and women, Gue Qingren preferred novels. Song Huang felt that he was feeling very apologetic. Everyone was greeting Qingye, and yet, they just had to ignore me. Just what is going on today? Uncle, you can't do it. Dong Huangli raised her head and looked towards Song Huang, then said with a childish voice. Children's words were very deadly. Song Huang felt extremely sullen. He had never felt so sullen before. If he had known that things would turn out like this, he wouldn't have brought them along. Qingye said tenderly, Ali, you cannot be impolite. Oh, uncle, you are the best. Dong Huangli responded, then said to Song Huang. Ultimate kill. Being scolded by a child and then given a candy to comfort you, you still had to face it with a smile. How hurtful. The show was not over yet. At this moment, a fleet of 4 Rolls-Royces arrived. The Bai family is here. Yeah, I didn't expect the Bai family to show up for this auction. It's my honor to meet this northern beauty today. What does it have to do with those 2 women and the northern beauty? That's true. The 4 cars slowly stopped. Wang Debao was the first to get out of the car. He opened the car door for his wife like a little brother. Bai Cixin was wearing a white dress, and her pretty face was covered with a veil, as if she did not want others to see her face. If it was in the past, everyone would think that this veil was very mysterious and classy. But now, why do I feel that wearing this veil on my face is so weird? Look at other people, how beautiful are they? Is there anyone like you? You're still wearing a veil. Bai Cixin, who got out of the car, also seemed to feel that something was wrong. This wasn't the case when she appeared in the past. What was going on? A man and a woman got out of a car behind them. The man was Bai Cixin's younger brother, Bai Qi. He was wearing a black suit and had a delicate face. He looked like a pretty boy and was very handsome. The girl who got out of the car attracted everyone's attention. The girl looked to be in her early 20s. She had jet black hair and a snow-white face. Her clear and beautiful eyes were slightly blue, like pure gems. She had a graceful figure and wore a light red dress. She should have been a pure and beautiful girl, but she gave off a sorrowful aura, making people feel pity for her. Someone in the crowd suddenly recognized the girl. I know who this girl is. One of the wives of the family master exclaimed. The family master shouted in a low voice, lower your voice. It's embarrassing for you to be so surprised. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have brought you out. The wife responded, but she still said, Hubby, didn't the Bai family hold a banquet last month? This girl and her mother were there too. What's so strange about that? Actually, this girl is quite pitiful. I think her mother made Bai Qi a concubine. The family master's expression changed. Why? Is it hard for you to be my concubine? The woman stopped talking. Only she could understand the girl's thoughts. What's the girl's name? The family master asked. I think she's called Dongfang Yu, surnamed Dongfang. Everyone seemed to have thought of the surname Dongfang. 100 years ago, there were 6 big families in the north, and Dongfang family was one of them. However, Dongfang family was reported by other big families, and the content of the report was that Dongfang family was secretly hiding an ancient godly item. At that time, the emperor of Voidless Realm was Donghuang Baiji's father. He personally investigated this matter, and as expected, an ancient godly item was found. After all, there was a rule that one could only possess one ancient godly item. Secretly hiding an ancient godly item was a heavy crime, because it was suspected of rebelling. However, at that time, Dongfang family cried out that they were being framed. However, rules were rules, and there was no evidence to prove their innocence. Thus, Donghuang Baiji's father revoked the title of Dongfang family, executed all the males, and released all the females. Dongfang Yu's grandmother was the only daughter of the family master at that time. In order to keep the surname Dongfang, all the children followed their mother's surname. Dongfang Yu was the most outstanding one among the younger generation, and thus, she decided to gift her to Bai family. However, all of this was not what Dongfang Yu wanted. However, what else could she do? On the other hand, Bai Qi only accepted Dongfang Yu because he fancied her appearance. Bai Cixin, on the other hand, didn't mind. It doesn't matter if my little brother takes in a concubine, but the main wife must be beneficial to Bai family. Marrying a virtuous woman was a very simple principle. Bai Qi, who was standing behind his big sister, stretched out his hand, wanting to hug Dongfang Yu's waist. However, Dongfang Yu dodged his hand. This made Bai Qi a little angry. She is already prepared to marry into Bai family, yet you are still acting all high and mighty. Not letting me touch this, not letting me touch that, do you really think that you are still the Dongfang family of the past? If you were still the Dongfang family, then I, Bai Qi, would have to kneel and lick your boots. However, the current you can only kneel and lick my boots. I have already promised you that I will only make a move on you after you graduate. However, don't force me to be rough, your family's finances are all in my hands. Bai Qi leaned close to Dongfang Yu and shouted out gravely. This kind of threat was fatal to Dongfang Yu. Upon seeing this, Bai Qi stretched out his hand and hugged onto Dongfang Yu's waist, declaring his ownership. Dongfang Yu was indeed captivating, especially the sense of weakness that was emitted from her bones. It made men feel a strong sense of conquest. Put on a smile, don't be so lifeless. Bai Qi said, you're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.